welcome to Scripts and Giggles with Shoshana
and Marnie.
Wow.
I really like that as a pause.
Yeah. So, how's the week been?
The week has been weird.
It's been a busy week.
It's been a good... It's been busy, it's been good. I had one weird thing.
Oh, okay. Tell me.
One weird thing.
Go
so
on.
I went out for dinner.
Yeah.
So there's two parts to my weird thing, which is I actually feel like I've reached a point in my life where I can't drink during the week.
Oh, yeah.
Like, not... I don't mean like a glass. I can have a glass of wine. But more than two, you're asking for trouble.
You get sloshed.
And also, I can't have dinner late.
Oh, goodness. Wait, what's the latest you can go for dinner?
Ideally, I want to be seated at 7.
Really? I feel like the latest I can go is maybe 8.
For the food to come at 9.
Ooh. When you say that. I mean, okay, we see at 8. Food comes at 8:30 latest. We're finished by 9.
Okay.
And then we're digesting between 9 and 10 while chatting and then leave at 10.
So I went to dinner this week
Yeah.
at 9 o'clock.
That's too late.
Late.
Isn't the kitchen closed by that point?
No. The restaurant wasn't thriving.
I'm so done.
The restaurant was in a hotel, so I feel like...
Yeah. Okay, yeah. I mean, they're expecting guests to come in late, but that's 9 o'clock is a lot.
9 o'clock is crazy.
When did the food come?
Probably 10.
Hey.
And obviously the wine came before the food.
That's a problem
so
too.
you're just having drinks in the interim.
I even struggle with the idea now of like drinking alcohol before the food, because I just feel, especially if there's like no bread on the table.
There was no bread.
I'm making it sound so fancy. Like I go places, every place I go must have bread, but like just something to soak up the alcohol.
A little snack.
Yeah, because I don't want to just be drinking alcohol on an empty stomach or empty stomach.
Yes. So anyway, I'm at this weird 9 o'clock dinner,
Yeah.
which I'm already not happy about. I had complained several times already about the fact that it's too late for my stomach.
Yeah.
I did one of my favourite things to do, actually, which I've decided is one of my favourites, which is make a deal with someone at dinner that you're both going to get a dish and split it.
Oh, yeah, I like that.
So what we did was there were 2 pasta dishes and we wanted to try both of them.
Yeah.
So we got the 2.
Yeah.
And then we got this chicken and we split all of that between us.
Yeah.
I will say, this restaurant had 2 different size portions. They had what turned out to be starter portion and main portion.
Yeah.
We ordered 2 main portions.
Was that not enough?
They were not main size to me.
When you say, oh, what were they more like? Were they more like starters?
Yeah.
Oh, that's really disappointing. But it was a fancy restaurant.
It was a fancy restaurant.
Yeah.
But I don't understand where's all the food. You're charging me 30, 40 quid for a plate of pasta.
But, you know...
I can eat this pasta in 3 mouthfuls.
It's about the quality. The quality of the food. So, you know, 1 mouthful is like having 10 cheap strands of Tesco pasta.
For me, the only thing, like, the only thing that feels luxury when it comes to pasta is either, like, a rare meat.
Al dente.
No, al dente is not fancy. You can do that in your house if you don't cook your pasta enough. I mean, like, when you go somewhere that's like wild boar or ragu, I'm like, okay, well, I don't have boar every day. Let's try that. Or truffle.
That's true.
You put truffle on everything. I'm like, oh, this fancy.
And that means like, oh, £50 for that milk?
Literally.
That makes sense. Truffle. And then a bit of gold leaf. I've never tried it. I've never tried that before. But I just like edible gold. Any type of edible diamond, crystal. If your feet is tingling at you, it's worth it.
It's glittering.
It's worth the 50k. No, the £50. Not the 50k.
So that was a fun thing for us to do because we've never done that before.
Oh, nice.
Like, I feel like you have certain friends you can do that with,
Yeah,
and I didn't know if we were friends like that, and it turned out that we were.
That's good.
Although they ended up eating most of the chicken.
Even though...
they did do something that I absolutely hate.
Even though the meal was not... The chicken probably wasn't big enough for 2 people.
We ordered a whole chicken.
Oh, okay, that's fine
and
then.
they did not bring it out on the bone. So I cannot confirm or deny if that was the whole chicken.
Yeah.
It was a decent amount of chicken though.
Did it taste good?
Yeah, it did.
Okay, at least you can say, I'm paying this type of money for good food.
It was £60 just for the chicken.
And it's only like £12 for a whole chicken at Nando's.
Think about it. I said this is kind of wild.
And it's also flavoured really well at Nando's.
I would say this was very succulent.
Yeah.
Because I'm not a big I'm not a big fan of chicken breast. I think
Yeah.
it's always dry.
Yeah.
This wasn't dry.
That's good. For me, again, it's the technique. It's the technique versus anything else.
I've never, like, it's very rare. I can count on my hands the amount of times I've had chicken breast and been like, this is actually good.
Yeah.
Not, like, doesn't feel just long chewing and all the flavour's gone because you've been chewing for so long.
And also,
it tastes
usually,
so white.
the chicken breast is, like, sliced so thinly. That's how you can keep the flavour in.
Yeah. This was actually, it wasn't like just a slab of chicken.
Yeah.
I don't care for that.
Yeah.
If anyone's listening, don't do that. But, okay, so we're at this meal.
Yeah.
One of the faux pas that happened, we're sharing.
Yeah.
Someone says, oh, can I try a chicken? And old dude is like, sure. We needed to discuss that.
Yeah.
As a couple of people
I
eating.
have so many conversations. Yeah.
As a couple of people eating.
Yeah.
You don't make a decision to share my food without me.
Yeah, I feel like that should have happened. However, given that you told me a bit about this dinner before, the person that's asking for the food is paying for it.
No.
Oh, okay. Okay.
There was
okay. Maybe I got that completely wrong.
There were 6 people at this table. One person ended up paying for the whole table.
Okay.
And then afterwards, the person who I was sharing with was like, yeah, to be fair, that guy's always asking for stuff. I was like, well, why did you give it to him then? You could have been like, Marnie said no. She doesn't want to share her food. I'm happy to take...
It sounds like Joey from Friends, but yes.
I'm happy to take one for the team.
That's a massive faux pas. Like, you should 100% have asked the other person you're sharing their food with, like, oh, is it okay? And also, I'm so
Took
sorry.
a big bit as well.
Yeah. Why are people such
And it was my half of the chicken.
No, that's not fair.
I said, you're lucky I'm already starting to feel full. Because otherwise I would have been like, both of you are going in jail.
The only way you should be asking for extra food off another plate, not even your own, is if, the other person has finished, everyone's finished, and you're a bit hungry, but you're like, oh, I really saw your food and it looks nice. Are you having... Actually, you know what? There is no room, there is no space to be asking for food.
To be
unless
fair,
it's offered to you.
Yeah. Also, the person I was sharing with had been like to them, oh, can I have some of your truffle fries? And then took half of the pot of truffle fries and then started putting some on my plate. I was like, he's not gonna have any chips left. How can you ask for chips and then be handing out chips to other people? Maybe this is how those guys share. I don't like it.
No.
I don't like that.
It's etiquette. It reminds me of when we went for our group chat dinner. We went out having it was it?
Yeah.
It was dim
yes.
sum. It was dim sum. And at that time, at that plate, and on that table, we realised one of our dear friends, Jessa, she was like, I don't like to share food. And I was like,
this is a sharing food place.
It's a sharing food place to begin with. And we've gone to dinner for definitely not a decade.
Get something to herself.
Yeah, and I didn't realise. It never clicked in the many, many years that we've gone for dinner together. As a group, I've never noticed that she just doesn't like to share food.
I thought you were going to talk about the bow incident.
What happened with the bow?
So we ordered the bow.
Oh yeah,
and we thought it was going to be
same restaurant.
Yeah.
Time.
We thought it was going to be enough bow for everybody.
Yeah.
But it turned out to be 3.
Yeah.
And there were 6 of us.
Yeah.
So some people just respectfully bowed out.
No pun intended.
Some people were like, so 2 went.
Oh, yeah.
What I remember is that there was 2, which we split in half.
Yeah.
And then there was 1 left. And one person in the group was like, I'm just going to...
Have the whole thing.
Oh, wait a minute.
That wasn't Jessa, that was...
No, that was Led's sister.
Yeah.
Whose name I can't remember. No, not Led's sister. Adam's sister.
Caroline.
Yeah. Caroline was like, I'm going to have this whole bow to myself. And I said, no, you're not, because we're at... I don't know. Did you not see us... I need you listeners to visualise the idea. You know how small a bow is?
Yeah.
Us cutting a bow into thirds so everybody can have a bit.
Oh, I would definitely have bowed out at that conversation because that was so fun to see you
and
guys
when
argue.
they put this tiny little piece of bow and this tiny little shredded duck on my plate, I said, at this point, let's bin this whole... Because this is sad. What we're doing is embarrassing and sad. I should have taken a picture of it. I don't think I did because I was actually very annoyed by the situation. Why have you cut it up like this?
I didn't realise how frustrating... I mean, the argument, and because it became an argument, that occurred for a while.
It did!
it lasted for so long. Do you know what? It's actually very ironic. In that exact same ping pong restaurant, I've gone for dinner again with 2 other people, and there was also an argument that broke out in the group, and I wasn't involved.
About the food?
It wasn't about the food, it was about something else.
Yeah.
But maybe that restaurant...
brings out the worst of people.
It really does, because the food ain't great. The food ain't great. Ping pong Waterloo ain't great.
Well, I don't have beef with ping pong Waterloo. I just had beef with the idea that it was very clear on the menu that the amount of bao that we were going to get was for 3 people. When the food has now arrived, 6 people want some.
Yeah.
What are you talking
that
about?
was so
That was what it was. That was the way the argument went.
Yeah.
The food has now come. There's only 3. The 3 people that had agreed to have the bao are about to go and get it. Now a 4th person said, I want in on the bao. Why do you want in on the bao? You didn't want it before. Yeah, because it looks good now. We're sharing anyway. We've shared everything else on the table. There's not enough for us to share.
No, it doesn't work that way.
She said, Caroline said, by force we will share. Cut the baos.
This didn't make any sense.
I don't like the idea of having less food because someone who was not already factored into the decision to have the food wants to have food. I don't like it. This happened as well on our trip.
Which trip?
On our girls' holiday. Me and a friend made a deal. We're going to get 2 different things we're going to share. We've now come to the table. Shoshana and our friend are like, oh, that food looks good.
Oh, yeah.
Our friend says, can I have a bit? I said, absolutely not. Because when we made the decision to go get our food, you said, I'm not doing that. I'm getting my own thing. You've got your own thing. You finished it. That's the worst thing. The food is now gone. And now we're eating. You're like, and I want a bit of yours. Oh, we fought that day. If you and our other friend had been there, I actually really think we would have actually had a fight.
Yeah, actually I do remember that because I was just like, wow, this is getting more heated.
Because she was like, oh, chill out. I was like, I'm actually not going to let you have this food.
And I also remember that we hadn't eaten for most of that day. No. So it was really
hungry. And we were already kind of tense because we'd done the cycle. You guys had done the cycle. We were late to meet the whole thing.
Something else happened.
It was bad vibes.
It was a lot.
And that really sent me. I was about to go over there. I didn't talk to her in the cab home.
It was tense.
That cab home was tense.
Yeah.
And I was like, to our other friend, I was like, this is...
No, but we can talk about this offline because I had noticed. It's basically the food sharing aspect can create.
You have to know what you're doing going in. You can't, once the food gets there, start talking about sharing. No. And it does put people in a tense. It puts people in a tricky situation.
An awkward situation.
Because if everybody else at the table says let's share, and I don't want to share, I look like a prick.
Yeah.
But I didn't want to. Yeah. I shouldn't have to.
Because it's going to become a bigger thing when it comes to paying.
Yeah. Now they're being like, well...
You only have your own separate food. I mean, there's a whole...
But you ate half of my plate, so now what?
There's a food etiquette, there's a drink etiquette. We won't go through my alcohol story from another day. But there's so much etiquette when it comes to it.
We could do a whole podcast about just the etiquette of eating a meal.
And how much beef it's caused and how much friendships are almost broke. Like, honestly...
I can honestly say there have been several occasions where I've overpaid just so we could leave the restaurant because people are putting their foot down. They're not paying for stuff that they absolutely had.
150%.
We just want to go home at this point. I will pay an extra 10. I'll pay an extra 15 if I need to. We have to leave this restaurant.
I think, and also I think as we've got older and older, that has become a thing. Well, actually,
it's
now
less and less acceptable.
It's less and less acceptable for you to be like, oh, but you got this and you got that. Should we just all split?
Yeah, split.
Yeah.
But then you can't, after we've split, be like, it's annoying that we had to split though because
No. You
have to drop it forever. You have to drop it.
The only thing I do appreciate, like, we say, oh, should we split? And then someone's like, well, I actually bought bought more alcohol. Is that okay with everyone? And everyone's like, yeah, cool. Done.
But I don't know if I agree. But I will say this. If I order a bottle and I say, anyone can have some.
Yeah.
And then you don't, for whatever reason.
Yeah, that I understand.
I'm not saying you have to pay for it.
Yeah.
But I would not tell you not to pay for it, if that makes sense. Like if I say, should I get a bottle for the table?
Yeah, and then you don't drink it.
Yeah.
Or I don't drink it.
Even though I did say I was going to get a bottle for the table.
Yeah, but you're not expecting me to pay for it.
No, I'm not expecting you to pay for it.
Yeah.
But I'm also not, but if you said I'm going to pay because I was going to have some, but then I didn't, I wouldn't say no.
Yeah, I think that's fine. But I think about sometimes like when we've gone for dinners and group dinners, and like there will be one person who just like buys their own drinks for themselves. Like it's not a bottle, like it's a G&T, but they have like multiple G&Ts more than everyone else on the table. Yeah. But they always flag like, oh look, I bought a couple more extra drinks.
Yeah, no, I'm not paying for.
Which I don't really have a problem with.
I will actually pay for a bottle. I think the reason why I pay for a bottle is even if I just have one glass and you have 7, I had some, I don't mind.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you have ordered yourself a single drink that I can't possibly be sipping from, you should pay for it. Unless you got a drink, I got a drink, you got a drink, I got a drink. And at the end, we both got drinks, even though maybe yours are slightly expensive, maybe mine are slightly expensive. We can split it.
Yeah, I get that. Because
still 2 drinks were had by both people. But yeah, if you had 0 drinks...
And you had 5.
And I had 8. And then I said, let's split the bill.
I'll be like, nah. I'll be like, I'll pay for my food.
How would you, let's role play. How would you play out this thing where the bills now come. Yeah. The bills now come. And I've said, oh yeah, I got 4 double gin and tonic. Plus, also, what a weird night.
What a wild night.
What a wild night that I had 4 double gin and tonic.
And I've had nothing.
You've had an orange juice. And I go, should we split this?
I'll be like, is there food on that menu as well? Is there food on the receipt?
We don't have any food.
I'll be like, well, I'm going to just pay for the orange juice.
I know, but I just think it'd be easier if we split it.
But I get, it would be easier, but the thing is, I only had 1 drink and you had 4.
I know, but like we did come here together to see each other. And I do feel like we should just split it. It's just easier. Like the guy's coming, let's just split it.
I know, it was so amazing, but like to be perfectly honest, I only budgeted for my orange juice. And my orange juice is £3 and yours is 50. So
I feel like you should have said at the beginning then if you were you didn't have the budget. If you should have said you were poor when we came.
I'm sorry, you should have said you were an alcoholic when you said you needed 4 double gin and tonics. What you need is 4 double gin and tonics. All I'm gonna say is this. No, to be honest. It's your own responsibility. Like, if you are gonna have 4 double gin and tonics, you've drank it, you have to pay for it. I'm so sorry.
I know, I'm with
honestly,
you.
By the time this,
but I'm saying, what would you do if someone actually said this?
If this happens, let's discuss how close this friendship is, because you may be stepping a little bit out of a wider zone. You're not gonna be in the inner circle anymore. You're gonna be getting to the outer circle. If you're gonna continue this way. Honestly, talking like this. Or should I count money? Like, oh, well, you have... The worst thing you could say is like, well, you have money, so you can cover it. That would be it. You're like, get out. Get out.
To be fair, that was a very wacky situation.
It's so wild.
But also kind of funny.
And that being said, I wouldn't be surprised if you had 4 double gin and tonics and you were drunk and you had that kind of bravery to be like, let's split. I wouldn't be surprised because you did have that amount of alcohol. But in the same breath, I'm not splitting with you.
Would you be like, oh, I won't hold that against her, that was weird? Or would you be like, that was unforgivable, actually?
No, I don't think it's unforgivable. I would say maybe you should sober up and we're gonna have a conversation about this, or you're gonna cover my Uber back home.
Why?
We're gonna fight. We're gonna be fighting outside the restaurant because I just paid £40 for 4 double gin and tonics or 2 double gin and tonics that I didn't even drink.
What's the problem?
I'm so sorry.
You have money.
I love you.
You a broke bitch. You a broke bitch.
No, all I'm gonna say is that I love you loads, but like, I think it's very simplistic to try and count people's money. Because if you didn't have the money to cover your own drink,
first of all, who told you I had money? That'd be my first thing.
Yeah, I don't think that's the thing.
Who told you I had money?
This is an off-camera, off-air thing we could talk about. But it's one time I did tell someone my salary, and they were using it against me, and that. The first time it happened, we're going to sort this out. The first time it happened, it was actually good because it's like, well, they used it. I was like, well, I realised I'm maybe being a bit underpaid, so I'm going to go to my boss and see if I can like push for like a better pay so that I can, so that I can see that I'm being fair paid. Like, so I was like, in my head, I was like, you know what? Because it's so weird to be talking about salaries, and I know we live in a world where we've been told to be more transparent, but it's still a taboo subject. But I was like, well, if it's helping someone else, why not? Because we're all in this together. But then it happened again, and then this time they were using it against me, like throwing like little jabs, like, well, you don't have to worry, you can afford it. I was like, see, I haven't like explicitly told them like don't do it anymore, but I have seen certain behaviors, and I'm like one strike away from being like, okay, like we need to have a serious conversation. But then you have to break the tone, like the jokiness, and be like, well, no, it doesn't work this way. You can't just be talking this way. It doesn't work like that.
I had a friend who, like, really, really early on in my career, like, she hadn't had a job for a while. Like, as in, this is fresh out of uni, not fresh out of uni, but like first jobs out of uni. She didn't have work. I'd had a bit of temp work. Then she got some temp work. I wasn't working. Yeah. And then from that temp job, she had a friend who was working somewhere. She got like a graduate job, like a proper graduate job that paid at least 30k. Yeah. And I was still doing my temp jobs. And we'd meet each other for dinner. And because we had been talking about moving in together, we actually did have to have a frank conversation where it's like, okay, I get it, you're on 30k, but I'm not even on a salary. Yeah. And after that, when we would go out sometimes, she would pay. Yeah. And I thought it was cute. Like, it was like going on a date. Yeah.
Thanks,
But at first it was always like, oh, I wouldn't come out if I couldn't cover myself. Yeah. And she'd just be like, don't worry about it. Like, but we weren't racking up £200 bills or anything.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
And then once I started to earn money, we would go out and then I would pay, and I'm like, I've got some money now. Yeah. And we'd always had a relationship like that. Like when we were at uni, her mum would send her vouchers, like Tesco vouchers for like meal deals at like Cafe Rouge, and then she would take me with her, and then we would have basically we'd have free dinner. And then when we lived together, we'd take turns paying for groceries. So like, we already had I've got your back, I've got you, you've got me type of relationship. I can't imagine doing that with someone else, like a new friend. And even this was really awkward because I said to the person who had invited me to the meal, what if we are paying for this? Because we've got a lot of... I wanted to get this food anyway, but I wouldn't have if I thought I was going to pay for it. Are you sure? And he was like, well, either way, we'll just have to pay for it, won't we? And I was like, well, there's a difference between paying a £30 bill and paying like 75. And I need to know if I'm going to spend £100 today. Anyway, we ended up not paying for it. But at the dinner, this is the second weird thing.
Okay.
At the dinner, there was a woman, an American woman, and she was talking away about her life, and I was talking to the person I was eating dinner with, and at one point he whispered to me, she's looking at me.
Well, the American woman?
Yeah.
She was at our table.
She was at the table, but she was like other end of the table, and he was like, she keeps looking at me really intensely, and I was like, do you think she's got a crush on you? And he was like, I don't know, but it's making me really uncomfortable. And I was like, okay. Like, trying to
with dirty eyes and looking.
Yeah, trying to see. But she did have just an intense look. And I was like, I think this is like an American thing. Yeah. Like, she asked someone what their name was, and they said like what it meant, and she was like, that's a beautiful name. You have a beautiful spirit.
And just like deading your eyes, looking at you,
And then like, wasn't talking, so had said, you've got, that name is beautiful. Silence. The silence is her just staring at the person.
Oh my god.
Like, she's about to be like, I can see into the future, and you have great things ahead of you, or whatever. It was like, that kind of, if you've ever been to see like a psychic or something, that kind of like weird intense stare that they give you, and you're like, trying to get clues off you. Anyway, later on, we go to the loos, and we're waiting for the boys downstairs. And I don't know how we get onto this topic, but we're talking about London, and I was like, oh, do you think... they'd already been talking about how London is different from LA, London's different from New York, whatever. And somehow we got onto, like, the dating scene in London. Yeah. And I always say, oh, it's the pits out here, like, there's a bunch of people who don't know what they want, who are on here swiping, wasting your time, it's a long thing. And she said, do you know what I've noticed here about the black men? They don't really date their own here. Like...
What?
Like, what kind of men approach you?
No.
I'm saying, like, based on your vibe, And she specifically said, based on what you're wearing, yours.
And she pointed her hands down, up and down.
She said, looking at you, I'm going to say white. The way I don't know how to take this because I can't... It feels like an insult.
That's the thing. It's not the first time it's happened. Listen to the previous podcast in regards to the story that Molly shared about Shoreditch. Yeah, when people say that, it does sound insulting.
It feels like an insult. Yeah. And then one of the guys who was there was like, well, what kind of guys do you like? Then she said, what kind of guys do you like? And I said, I'm open. Like, I don't have a preference when it comes to race at all. But I would say white men probably approach me more than black men. And she was like, yeah, let me tell you something. I think the problem is that the kind of black guys you like, I've not told this woman a single question about what black guys I like. She said, I'm sure the kind of black guys you like, they like white women. I said, so now, not only have you dragged me, you're now dragging the guy that I would date.
You're saying, based on your own analysis, that there's no way that the black men and the black women can connect.
You said, based on my analysis of you, the black man that you want, you'll never have. You will never have him. I said, you don't even... A lot of assumptions have been... You don't know what black guys are like.
Wait, I have 3 questions. Number 1. In this whole dinner, prior to you guys meeting the Luz, have you spoken to her?
I've never met this woman in my life.
Okay. Number 2. What is the race of this woman?
Huh?
What's the race of this woman?
Black.
Okay. Number 3. What's her relationship status and who is she dating, married to, and is he also white?
Let me tell you something. After this woman has dragged me up and down this restaurant, the next day, I'm talking to my friend who I went to the meal with, and I'm like, oh yeah, you missed it. When we went to the loo and was waiting for you guys, this woman was dragging me for no reason. I'm just stood here minding my own business. She was saying, listen, you'll never have peace, you'll never have happiness. A black man will never date you. The kind of, no, but specifically she said the black men that I like.
The type of black man.
I've not listed I've not told you. Don't know nothing about me. You met me today. What black guys did I say that I liked? That you could tell me? Yeah, sorry sis.
It's not for you.
He ain't looking for girls like you. He's looking for the whites. So this whole thing that you're doing here,
what?
You're not gonna get what you want.
What is he? Okay.
I feel like, do you
there's
know
no point me
like,
trying to psychoanalyze it because she was trying to drag you.
No,
I said telling you that you're white.
I don't think she was trying to drag me. That's the thing that makes it so confusing. I think she thought she was imparting advice to me.
Yeah.
And doing solidarity with me. Like, I get it, sister. It's so hard to find a good black brother out here because the black brothers out here want white girls.
Yeah,
but why the added sting of, and you attract white men? What has that got to do with anything? What has that got to do with anything? Who told you I was even out here looking for a man? You heard it. I never told you I was straight.
Yeah.
We've had this whole conversation. Did I even say I date men? You've come here and said, what kind of men approach you? Yeah, white men. But it doesn't really matter because I don't date men. You've made a lot of assumptions. Anyway, I'm talking to my friend now. I'm like, she said this to me. He's like, this is mad. I've looked her up. Her husband's white.
I have one last question. How old is this woman? I mean,
older than us.
Okay, so this is what I was going to say. Do you think this woman was looking at you as like, this is a younger me, let me just have some wisdom?
Baby, stop wasting your time. Stop wasting your time. Because I was you once.
Yeah.
I was you out here looking for black men. They're not checking for you. You need to pack your bags. Those white men that keep coming up to you, except one.
Yeah, but in the same breath. Her just chatting, she's talking about herself. She wasn't talking about you. She was just talking about herself. This is what happens when people have some their own insecurities to try and project it onto others.
Oh no! Because in the meal, she was saying, who was she saying? She was saying some musician because she was there because she knew she worked in the industry or something. Yeah. She had worked in the industry. She was like, oh, ex wanted to fuck me before, but before they found out I was married, this person wanted to fuck me with like all these black guys. So what's the story then, sis? Yeah. Because you said my problem was I'm chasing men who don't want me. It seems like men were chasing you that wanted you and you didn't want them.
Exactly.
What's the story, sis? When he said that to me, that her husband was white. I just went back to him and I said, the people who are out here crusading melanin, don't date people that look like them.
No.
Leave me alone then. Yeah. I was minding my own business.
It was unsolicited conversation.
Unsolicited advice.
Yeah, advice. It's just so sorry.
I'm just waiting outside of the bathroom. I've come to this meal because I was asked to attend the meal, and now I'm getting dragged.
No,
on a Tuesday at 1 a.m. By the way, as well, because obviously she went to that at 9.
Yeah, she was brave. She was like, you don't want to be drinking all this alcohol. I can just say what I want. But in my head, I also feel like if I heard something like that, like, oh, yeah, you look like you like white men, I'd just be like, what's the look? Because you say I look like, what's the look that makes you think that?
I was gonna ask, and I thought, do you know what's crazy?
I don't want to open the book.
Yeah, well, I don't know if I want to open this, but you're saying this to another person I've never met before, right? So this person doesn't know anything about me, but what you've just said it's gonna go in their head, and depending on how well they're listening to this, it sounds like you've said I only date white men.
Yeah.
Well, that wasn't what was discussed.
No.
So I'm not going to continue. I personally was just like, I don't really want to continue this conversation because it feels crazy to me that you have met me today and this is the energy you're bringing.
Yeah.
You've not asked me what I do for work.
No.
You've not asked me, what if I have hobby. You've not actually asked me anything about myself. And the 2 seconds that we've spoken to each other, I've asked you questions about your job. Yeah. And you come back to me about men.
Interesting.
Just felt really weird to me. And I also was just like, well, it's really... I wasn't depressed or anything. I wasn't even hurt. I just thought, the audacity.
Yeah.
Oh, the audacity.
We live in a world where people have no audacity at all, yeah.
The audacity to come up to someone you don't know and be spitting buzz about race and who they date. Like, we know each other. We don't know me.
No.
You're saying, look, I might have a whole black husband sitting in my house. You didn't ask me anything. No. You've not asked me a single question. You've just come to tell me, listen, the way you look, to be fair, I looked very, very cute that day. So that's the other thing. So basically what you're saying is girlies who are adorable, who like to wear printed trousers and a sweatshirt, no black men would ever date them.
Oh, what should you be wearing to attract the black man?
I need to get a BBL. I feel like that's where the conversation was going. Like, she said, I've looked you up and down.
You need a BBL, you need a fashion over dress.
You need a fashion over dress, you need a BBL. Boob job? Have you thought about that?
I'm so sorry. Like,
I don't know. Like, I genuinely don't know.
It's so hard because if...
She was like, I'm from New York, so when people meet me, they're surprised because they have these expectations of what New York girls look like, BBL and fake nails, fake hair, blah, 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 and I don't do any of that shit.
I'm so finished.
And I was like,
I
don't think that.
Yeah.
I honestly, when I think of New York, that's not what I think.
Yeah.
What you're saying is, that is the desirable black woman or whatever, and her unique ability is that she's edgy, she's like different enough, but not too different.
Yeah.
So she can attract black men. But I'm too different from the BBL girly to attract black men. In New York or in London?
I don't think she even knows herself. It's one of those things where if it wasn't for the fact that you were in if I may say, like a work adjacent type of environment, you could have dragged her.
I wouldn't have even wasted my time doing it because I don't think that woman has a job. When I asked her what her job was, she said, I'm a commentator. I said, what have you commented on?
She's a TikToker. She's a TikToker. No fair to the TikTok girl.
She was a socialite. Do we even have those anymore?
Gossip Girl ended a long time ago.
We haven't had socialites in this country since the early 2000s.
She ain't Paris Hilton. Like, we don't do, like, honestly. To the TikTok girlies that are making their pee on TikTok, good for you. Like, and there's, like, no shit at all, but, yeah.
I'm supposed to be having tea with her.
No, it's fine.
On Sunday.
You wasting your weekend. Nope.
Well, she said this is one of the last things she said to me. She said, I like to book a hotel on the weekends and I just go and I stay there and I have girlfriends come and visit me. You should come and have afternoon tea with us. And I was like, sure. But afterwards I was like, why does she think I need to come to this salon of hers? I am convinced she is a criminal of some sort. and I'm coming to join a pyramid scheme.
She's like, what's her face?
Or she's going to cut my...
Inventing
Yeah, that's exactly... I'm either going to get left with the bill, she's going to take my kidney, or she's going to try and indoctrinate me into some sort of pyramid scheme. That is what the... I'm so curious that I would go...
If you go, can you tell us next week what happens?
She probably... What if I get there, she wants to give me a makeover?
Oh my lord. Next thing, money will come with the tashiki. Afro hair.
Please tell me what black guys are even dating the girlies and the dashiki. It's just like, let's
Come
be real.
on. No, let's be honest.
Let's be real. Let's be real. I'm not gonna, like, the idea... I think the thing that I would have said to her if I knew her, I think that's the thing. I don't know you, so I don't really want to get into it. But what if you're trying to engineer a situation in which you are going to be desirable to black men, you are going to upset yourself.
True.
You are not going to get the results that you want.
Even
you're better off being whoever the fuck you are.
Yeah.
And meeting the guy that you want to meet.
Yeah.
Because if you try to be something that you're not, they'll see through you. Because they're not... Just because they're black doesn't mean that they don't have eyes.
Yeah.
They can't sense something's off.
Yeah. And the thing is also, like, the desirability of any man. That's where you're going to get disappointed. Be you. Yes. Walk around in the world as your most authentic self. I'm not saying it's easy, but you will attract people that you'll... At least you can feel the most authentic about yourself and know who you are before you get into a relationship. We're going to be talking about more about relationships later in the episode.
According to this woman, I don't even try. I have to try. I can attract a white man. I could get on the tube tomorrow on the way to work, shit myself, and still get a white man. Apparently. Apparently.
I'm so done.
Apparently. Also, what kind of white man?
Man.
That's so vague.
The thing is,
what do you mean?
She's trying as if she lives in London. Come and sit on these tubes.
Oh, she's lived in London for 8 years, actually, I'll have you know.
What tubes does she... Well, as a socialite, I don't think she's even taking tubes. Come and sit on these tubes. Sit on some of these lines. District line, Piccadilly line. Tell me where your hot white man is.
It's honestly mad.
Honestly.
It's honestly mad. And I'm so curious about her. Because I don't know if it is simply she is an old woman.
Yeah.
And talks without thinking.
Yeah, probably.
Or if she thinks that's her. Yeah, exactly. She's brought into her own house. Yes. I will update as and when I have more information, but...
That would piss me off so much. Or not piss me off, but it'd just be like...
Oh, she also called me shady.
For?
So when we were sat at the table, we had to go round and say how we knew each other.
Yeah.
And my friend was like, oh, I would say we're friends. And I was like, colleagues. Which is very much, I think, a perfectly fine joke.
Yeah.
It's sarcasm.
I think
Is it sarcasm?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's mean-spirited, but
it's funny.
We know each other.
And I'm sure we got a bit of a giggle around the table.
And then she was like, oh, have you seen her? She's shady.
What? Okay,
I said, do Americans people like not have... No, what is the deal with Americans? I get it.
They do have humour. My last question, and our American listeners, we know you have...
Please explain, because I'm not getting it.
No,
if you
have humour.
Please tell American listeners, tell us if somebody saying, oh, we're friends, and you saying colleagues is shady. Especially, I mean, yeah, it's shady, but it's shady
with a joke, it's shady with a wink. Like it's a bit of a tongue in cheek.
But I would never say that to somebody I actually don't know.
Yeah, true.
I know that him.
My last question is.
He also followed up with, so he said, "Oh, we're friends," and I said, "We're colleagues," and he said, "We speak to each other every day," and I said, "That is true." Yeah. You got me, because I don't have a rebuttal to that one. We do speak to each other every day. Yes,
about work. That's your rebuttal.
That's true.
That is also true.
That is actually, yes, that is true. We do speak to each other every day about work and pop culture.
That's true. So, what I was going to say is, on this dinner table, what is the demographic of gender? What's the split in gender?
I'll tell you. It was 4 guys.
Yeah.
2 women.
And you and the other girl. I think there's also something about that as well.
Yeah.
I
think she was giving very pick-me energy. Because at one point, apropos of nothing, she was like, the thing is with Weinstein is that some of those women knew what they were getting themselves in for. And when I tell you, I looked around that table like, who's going to nod and agree with this? Because I need to know who the the rape apologists here. I need to know. Because this is a bad take.
Yeah.
This ain't it, sis.
Yeah.
And also, you're doing it, I feel like, to get the boys to be like, yeah, you're one of us. Yeah, you also agree that women like to make up stories about how they didn't want to have sex.
I'm so finished.
I just feel like, why are we at dinner with people we don't know talking about this?
Also, what? How did that even come up?
And then she was like, oh, I know this is true because I've been to dinner with my husband before and had women coming up to him being like, hey, how are you doing? Getting in his face, jiggling their boobs. I'm like, how is that the same as rape? Sorry. You haven't actually explained the leap in logic.
Yeah.
Somebody hitting on your husband is not the same as somebody wanting to get raped. Or, in her scenario, wanting to sleep with Harvey Weinstein. If I wanted to sleep with Harvey Weinstein, why am I coming out?
Yeah.
I'll just keep that to myself.
Yeah.
Why would I be changing my mind about it?
Yeah, it's...
Also, why are we talking about this? The guy's in prison for like 100 years.
That's why it's just so wild. Okay, thank you.
We don't talk about R. Kelly.
Yeah.
Because then I would have had to be like, I have to go.
You have to go. This is it. It's not worth it. It's not worth this conversation.
But yeah, that part
wild.
of the convo was giving very big pick-me energy.
Yeah.
And I said, this is why the Americans are several decades behind us because they're still out here trying to oppress the boys.
But our American
You're
listeners...
a socialite. What do you need this
I know.
for?
Our American listeners, you are in the decade. You are in our decade.
No.
You're in the decade. But that
You're
woman
all backward.
No, that woman was wild.
Swamp people.
That woman was wild. You an idiot.
Bye, you girls.
No. I think, yeah. Thank you for telling me that story because I don't even know what I would have done. And it's the worst things that I would be so flabbergasted. So flabbergasted.
The worst thing is, I really do think that, like, when you're a certain type of person, you bring out a certain type of person in someone else. And because she was behaving like that, I feel like I was giving very stuck up, snobby energy.
Yeah.
But I was doing that because I was like, you're moving mad, actually.
Like, I'm not going to let you have that opportunity to talk to me that way.
Yeah, and I was like...
Or think it's acceptable to do so.
And now I'm reinforcing the stereotype that British people are all classist and snobby and have a stick up their ass. It's like, yeah, because... you are classless.
Yeah. Yeah.
What am I supposed to do? I didn't like it.
No.
I didn't like it. I'm going to be honest, like, I would give that whole dinner like a 5 out of 10.
Yeah.
As an experience. I like the food.
Yeah.
But eating dinner at 9 o'clock? No. But it's being seated at 9 o'clock. We weren't eating at 9.
Yeah.
It's a big no for me.
It's like it started off bad and didn't end up as great.
No, the Uber home was nice. I had a chat with the Uber driver.
Oh, okay, nice.
We talked about whether or not I should learn to drive. That was fun.
That is a conversation we're gonna have in another podcast because yeah.
So we see what the other
very proud of how you stood up for yourself with that because you could have really dragged her.
I was just really like, what's the point of this?
I know.
Like I feel like you think you got me.
Yeah.
But you didn't get me.
No.
Because I wasn't trying to fuck this dude here anyway.
Yeah.
Because later on, my friend was like, she's flirting with that dude, the one who she said that in front of.
Yeah.
He has a wife and 4 kids. So, I wasn't trying to hit on him, and he wasn't my type. And you can hit on him. If that was what it was, you should have just said.
But also, you're married with your husband, your white husband, which is no problem with your white husband.
Why did you... You have your white husband.
So look after him.
Go and check on your white husband.
No offense. There's no offense needed because you don't know. You could end up having a white husband, but not because of what she said.
No, if I have my white husband, I'll invite her to the wedding. I'll be like, you alright, sis? Bring your white husband to my wedding with my white husband. Please. If now what I'm actually gonna do is when I marry my black husband, invite her to my black husband and I's wedding and be like, this is my black husband now, what? Because what was you saying before? Say it in front of my husband. Say to my husband what you said to me.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh,
I just don't like that. Like, it's such weird energy because now I have to date someone who's not black or white. Because either way I'm playing into this story. My husband's Asian now.
Pedro Pascal.
Now
should we just move into pop culture?
Let's go.
Yeah. Why?
You love it. You love it.
Pop culture. There's been a lot going on. I will just say, talking of Pedro Pascal, I fell into a whole Pedro Pascal TikTok. And for the girlies who know, they know. Like, I've loved Pedro Pascal since Narcos. He's up there with one of my celebrity crushes. And I just relived it all over again. Even though we're not watching The Last of Us yet, we may review it on the podcast. But I just want to give a shout out to the effortlessly sexy Pedro Pascal.
Wickedly talented.
The wickedly talented Adele The wickedly talented, effortlessly sexy, funny, charming, a great dancer, very suave. And like, I was gonna say age appropriate. He's
I was going to say Asian. Like,
no,
he's not.
He's age appropriate.
For whom?
Not for me, but he's age appropriate Zaddy. Pedro Pascal.
I mean, I can't top that praise, can I? We're just gonna leave that there on the pod.
Yeah, we'll just leave it there.
We'll come back to it.
Yeah.
When he gets cancelled someday.
This better not age
like,
badly.
remember Shoshana, you said you loved him.
I do. I still stand by it.
I love Pedro Pascal.
Yeah.
I think he's brilliant.
We should one day do this thing on, I don't know, on the pod, because I did it on holiday with one of our girlies, where we picked six or seven celebrities that we love. And we just talk about who they are and why.
We just talk about who they are.
I had to get photos of all of them. And then she looked at all those photos and tried to find this common link between all the guys.
Interesting.
And it's actually, and she showed me hers, and then she was like, the common link was like, they all have like really muscular arms. And it was like the most random link. And my one, well, you can see.
I think I know what the link was.
You think you know what the link was. I can tell you it's not what you think. Not what you think, okay?
I would really struggle in something like that because I don't really have like, apart from Penn Badgley at the moment, like someone who I'm like,
I don't get it. I don't get Penn Badgley.
We're not getting into it because
no, I'm so sorry. It's ironic because we were just talking about white men.
You were talking about white men.
I was.
You said it. It's not, we know it is.
Yeah.
I don't really have, like, I feel like there are just periods where I'm like obsessed with someone, and then afterwards I don't care about them at all, which is really bad.
But maybe you can just do it through the ages, because like for instance, I was obsessed with like Bradley Cooper at one point. He's not aging as great.
Mad, by the way.
He's
never
Bradley
been hot.
Cooper speaking French. Say no more.
Okay. Okay. Sure. Like, do you remember when everyone was going crazy about Roger
Jean Paul?
Yeah.
Oh wait, Jean Page.
Roger Jean Page. Reggae Jean Paul.
There was a whole voice note the whole time. I was like, Reggae Jean Paul, yeah. Reggae Jean Paul.
And I was like, who are you talking about?
Reggae Jean Page.
Page.
But I would go wild if Reggae Jean Page played Reggae Jean Paul.
I think we should. The fact that we don't have a Sean Paul biopic in the works is
Please.
crazy. Even when everyone was going crazy about him, I was like, yeah, he's handsome, but like, he doesn't really do anything for me.
No, same. It doesn't do anything for me.
You need a bit of like
pizzazz.
Honestly, I think with Penn Badgley, it's his voice. His voice is so soothing.
That's what I keep on getting him to do
sexy.
ASMR.
It's so sexy.
Okay, for me, Penn never really did it for me. Also a bit of a short king, but Penn never did it for me.
You can't get can we just move on? Because I do think that at some point, you're going to go to jail for the amount of hate crimes that you are committing against short men. You hate them.
Pedro Pascal is a short guy and I still like him, so he's on the list.
Okay.
We'll do that episode one time. Maybe it's like a part of one of our Date and Scribbles episodes. Anyway, talking of pop culture and short kings, so I end up watching the Chris Rock.
Is Chris Rock short?
Yeah, he's like 5'9", 5'10".
So he's the same height as me. I'm not short.
You're not short for a woman, but he's short for a man. He's basically 5'9" is not short for a queen, but definitely for a short king. So anyway, I end up watching.
5'6" is the average height for a man.
Yeah. Okay.
5'4" is the average height for a woman.
If if a 5'4" woman was dating a 5'6" man, great. As a 5'7" woman myself, I can't.
It's 1 inch difference.
Fam, I'm gonna be bending over to try and kiss you.
You are lying.
No,
You're
I'm
not bending over.
I
It's
will
1
be bending
inch.
over. Look. Also, what is even the stature? Are you gonna be short and skinny?
He's built exactly like you.
So I'm gonna be kissing the exact same build as me, but 1 inch shorter. I'm definitely gonna be kneeling down.
Sorry, why would you be kneeling? You think you're shim. You think the width of your calf to your ankles is a whole inch.
All I know is I'm gonna feel like the bigger person in the relationship.
Because you're forcing it.
I'm not forcing it. He's 1 whole inch shorter than me.
Yeah, 1 whole inch. I
need him to be minimum 3 inches taller than me, okay? Minimum. And I still don't even like that because look, we're gonna move on because it's gonna make me sound irrational.
You are rational.
No, I'm very rational. Would you date a guy who's 5'6"? With your 5'9" self?
If he was Penn Badgley, probably yes.
For real though.
If it was Penn Badgley, yes.
As he currently looks with a beard.
How many times I have to repeat myself? If it was Penn Badgley and he was moving to me, yes.
But when you have to bend down and be like, who that?
I wouldn't need to bend. You are forcing it. You are actually forcing it. You're acting like he's a foot shorter than me. It's gone from 1 inch to 3 inch to now a whole foot. You're a whole foot shorter than me. I'm having to pick you up to kiss. That's not the case. Okay, you are forcing it. Even men who are 6 foot, they're like only this much taller than you.
There's a difference.
There really isn't that much of a difference.
You know the difference when you're climbing on that 6 foot guy.
What 6 foot guy have you been climbing? Name the guy.
He actually, I think, was
in your dreams.
I think he was 6'1".
In your dreams, you've been climbing, but you have not been climbing in real life. In your dreams, you've been climbing 6'4", 6'5", just climbing.
But when it comes to 5'6", I'm going to be climbing down the ladder. I ain't supposed to be climbing up that ladder.
You're forcing it.
Anyway, we're going to
act like this is Jack and the Beanstalk. It ain't. It ain't.
We're going to just move on. All I'm going to say is, from one short king to another, I ended up watching Chris Rock's live comedy special on Netflix. Actually live, because it was, I think, 9:30 in the US. It was 2:30 in the morning
I
in the UK.
didn't even know this was happening.
No, it came up on Netflix's social in the, late in the evening. I don't understand how I was still up. And I fell asleep in front of the sofa. And I woke up to see... I woke up at 2:28 to be exact, and I was like, oh, I saw on Netflix social that the Chris Rock special was happening at 2:30, and of course I was excited to see it because I wanted to see what he was gonna say about Will Smith, because this is the first time that Chris Rock has spoken publicly, or when I say publicly, I mean on a national, global stage, about what happened at the Oscars the year before. We all know who got slapped, so I was excited to see what this show was going to be about. As for the show itself, it wasn't bad. It wasn't super funny though, and some of the jokes were a little bit dated, like the whole Lululemon joggers joke that he spent a while finessing and leaning into the fact that they're expensive joggers. I'm sorry, it's not really a joke. People know it. But I think it helps with some of the boosting of their brand, like the day after, because they got a whole bunch of advertising, good or bad, from Chris Rock. He also made jokes about Meghan Markle, and she shouldn't have been surprised that, the royal family was racist. A joke that...
You should have been surprised that Will Smith slapped him.
I think we were all surprised.
I don't think he should have been surprised.
Yeah, maybe he shouldn't have been, but we were all surprised.
He shouldn't have been surprised.
And then he made jokes about abortion, which I'm not even going to go into because there's just no point. And then the big thing, 10 minutes before the special was supposed to end, he then leaned into Will Smith.
Because he knew that people would walk out if he did the Will Smith stuff early. I don't want to hear a whole stand-up thing from you. I just want to know what you got to say about Will Smith.
On Twitter, everyone was like, get to the Will Smith stuff. Okay, this is dry. Get to the Will Smith stuff. It just wasn't hitting.
Of course it wasn't.
So he finally did. He talked about the fact that, Will slapping him wasn't really about him. It was about all the history with Jada and August Alsina, who to this day the entanglement was still wild. Let us not even forget that. And that the fact that they put it on national TV with the Red Table Talk was also wild. but he just leaned in, called him the B word many a times.
The B
called
word.
Called Jay. I don't like swearing that much.
Called him a bitch.
He called Jada a predator. That slipped very quickly under the radar.
Yeah, he did.
And then his last joke was about the fact that he didn't fight back because, you know, he's a grown man. He was raised well, and he was told never to fight in front of white people. Slammed his mic on the ground and then raised his hand and was like, "I'm done." And you know,
not that white outfit he was wearing as well.
Full on white outfit,
Dead.
yeah. With the Prince symbol as a necklace, purple rain symbol. It was a random,
very bizarre outfit.
Yeah,
I was going to say, when I looked at it, I said, "Is it 2001?"
It was. There were some parts of it a bit dated. He was giving me like Kanye West "Touch the Sky" video.
yeah.
It was really giving me that. If you know, you know.
I saw bits of it, and I thought, I'll watch the whole clip, and I won't make judgment until I got to the end of the clip, and I said, "Where was the joke?" I don't really care about your opinions necessarily. Like, I don't care that he didn't like it. Of course he didn't like it. He got slapped on TV. I don't care that he said don't. I just feel like, because it's a stand-up special, whatever you're going to say about this has to be funny.
Yeah.
And it just wasn't funny.
Yeah.
Like, I actually feel like it would have been funnier to not say he slapped. Like, I don't know. I didn't slap you back because you don't fight in front of white people. Is that the joke?
I think for that part of the special became
wasn't a joke.
It wasn't a joke, and it became just more commentary. Like, I think there was a space for him to respond and talk about not the impact, but like
yes,
maybe the impact, but also just
because
talk
some
about
bits we didn't get to see.
Yeah,
we all saw the slap.
Yeah,
we all saw the August.
Or talk about what he would have done. Like, talk about what he would have done if you know, he wasn't fighting in front of white folk. What would he actually have done? And made a joke out of that.
He would have started crying.
Yeah.
Wow. But
I think there was a space for us to hear a bit of that and then use that as a jumping point for the jokes. But there weren't as many jokes. He made like small jabs throughout the night where he was like, "Oh, I don't want to get, you know, these rappers angry." Or anyway, he made a joke like, "That slap everyone knows. I still have summertime ringing in my ears since then."
That's
like,
funny.
Yeah, that was funny. But
so why couldn't that be the whole thing? That should have been it. You should have said anything else.
I don't know. But I think there's a space for him to be like, "I was pissed." Like,
yeah,
but then you use that pissed offness to go and start making jokes, and you just continue.
I feel like he really missed an opportunity to like fill us in on the parts that we didn't get to see.
No.
Like, he framed the whole stand-up and be like, "What to do if you ever get slapped by Will Smith? Step 1, don't slap him back, apparently."
Yeah.
And then you make jokes about what it was like being on stage, getting slapped, thinking, "Oh, all these white people here, I can't slap him back. But God, I wish I could have slapped him."
Yeah.
You know, step 2, you get the phone call where they're like, "Soz about that." And you're like, "Soz about that? What the fuck are you talking about? You said it in front of everyone. Everyone thinks I'm a little nerd. You have to go on TV and apologise to me."
Yeah.
You know, step 3, get Netflix to buy a special for you.
Look, there's so many ways he could have jumped from that and be like, you could have even ended up feeling, you know, doing the whole thing of like, who's won? Like, because I'm going to the Oscars next week, are you? Like, honestly, that could have been that moment where he just been like, look, I said I wasn't going to open my mouth unless someone paid me, and look where I am.
I think one thing that we have to accept as a culture now is some of these people that were big stars are entering an age in which they are no longer relevant.
Yeah.
And what we're witnessing is someone's attempt to stay relevant.
Yeah.
When they're past it. And it's crazy that something that happened to you that was relevant and you somehow managed to talk about it in a way that's so boring that now nobody cares about this thing anymore.
It's such a shame.
Like, what are you talking about? It's like, you're just an old man now.
Yeah.
You're just an old man on stage trying to pretend you're not an old man, telling us that we should, you know, aren't Jada... Like, I wouldn't even have minded if the jokes were like, I think Jada and Will are mentally like, unhinged.
He did go into some of that in terms of like when he said, who in their right mind would have discussed everything about the entanglements on like
that's how I think I would have played it that way. Like, oh, I didn't slap him because it would have been a hate crime.
Yeah.
You can't get around slapping mentally ill people. Like, I would,
Yeah, I mean, he was really leaning into the offence with all people, all races, or I mean, they did say that he really leaned into the black jokes.
Which brings me to my second question about that stand. Like, watching even the clips that I watched, I was like, I'm not really sure who his audience is. Like, in general. Like, based on this clip, I don't know whether this... Because as a black person listening to it, I don't find this funny.
No.
So who is this? Is it that this is actually for white audiences? Is this for black audiences? Like, who does Chris Rock think his audience is?
I think at this stage, his audience is mainstream, and mainstream equals white, predominantly white, because he's reaching a wider American audience. That's why Chris Rock is such an interest. That's why someone like a Netflix can pick a Chris Rock and generate that interest. So, do I think that Chris Rock is making the same jokes as he was when he was up and coming, and probably for more predominantly black audiences? No, because one, his lifestyle is different, and two, his audience is different. His audience is predominantly white Americans, and even the way he
verify that he was ever just a comic making
black jokes.
Yeah, like making comedy for black people only. I actually don't think he was.
I don't know. I mean, when he first started out, he probably was. He was in the same realm, like the Dave Chappelles and the Eddie Murphys.
God.
Probably not as extreme as Richard Pryor, but I can't believe I know all these names. But like,
yeah, look at where they're at as well.
Yeah.
I feel like someone needs to do some sort of deep dive on like the longevity of comedy and what it does to these black comedians, where they reach this sort of peak. And it's just down. It's not okay. Downhill's a strong word, but like Dave Chappelle just being wheeled out to be cancelled every now and then. Chris Rock having videos surfacing of him letting white men say the N-word to and around him.
That video was wild.
You know, Eddie Murphy, who was absolutely fucking massive. Yeah. Somehow just disappearing into obscurity now, popping up every now and then.
He's supposed to look up his babies and his children and just live a quiet life.
It's just like, what is the deal with comedy in that?
No.
What is the deal with comedy and like, as a genre and like what it does to black men?
I think it's comedy also in 2023 or comedy in the 2000s, where we are living in a world where anyone can get cancelled for anything, and people, even though comedians are like, we can skirt the line as much as we can, there is still this level of like being careful to not get cancelled, because there'll be times when he'll be like, there was a time when Chris Rock was making a joke about Beyonce and Jay-Z, and of course the gag is like, Jay-Z ain't like, Jay-Z is reaching when he's with Beyonce, which we all know is blah blah blah. And then at the end, he was like, it's not a joke about Jay-Z, it's not a joke about Jay-Z. And like, perfectly honest, we're living in the world like, before you could have made that joke and not having to do like an apology tour before you even have to. Like, just putting the band-aid over the joke, saying like, I'm not trying to make an offence to this particular group or this particular person. But now, because everyone's so cautious about image and also being cautious about getting cancelled, that is why you can't be risky in comedy anymore. And I think also for black men as well, is like that when you become more mainstream, I think you have to become a bit more.
Why do you need to be risky in comedy? I don't get it.
Because like controversy sells. Like sex sells, but controversy sells.
No, but like that's what I mean. Being provocative to me isn't actually the mark of talent. It's just your ability to say things that you know are going to piss people off. That is not a skill. Is that what is a skill? Is being able to take mundane things that happen to all of us and make us all laugh.
And that's why something like Seinfeld worked on for 7 seasons or 8 seasons, because it was a show about nothing, but it talks about mundane crap that we all related to at the time. It didn't age always very well, but you know.
It's like How I Met Your Mother. I've never watched an episode of that.
I loved How I Met Your Mother.
They're just certain things that just like don't do anything. Like never did anything for me.
I don't know. How I Met Your Mother was like warm TV.
It's like Always Sunny.
Always Sunny was quite funny. I find it a bit chaotic at times.
I think Always Sunny. I honestly do not enjoy the experience of watching that show.
It's a bit on edge.
Yeah, I don't want to feel like that when I watch a TV show.
But something like Arrested Development, I was talking about this earlier. Like I absolutely loved, because it was funny. I didn't feel like I was on edge. It was just wacky but funny.
I didn't get it.
Did you know? Okay,
I watched so much of that show and I was still like, when is this going to get funny?
When is it? Oh, I laughed. I found it funny. Wait, what did you prefer, Arrested Development or Schitt's Creek? Or would you put them in the same? I love
Schitt's Creek.
Would you put them on the same like? Real.
Yeah.
I think because the comedy, like in terms of the comedy delivery and style, I would say they're quite similar.
I do not think they're the same. Yeah. My experience of watching those two shows are not the same.
I've struggled with
Schitt's Creek, what you're talking about is that they're both rich families.
There's that aspect as well, and maybe just because of the out of touchness that leads into the jokes. Really
I think the mum is really funny in Arrested Development.
Yeah,
I think the problem with Arrested Development is there are too many characters and they're not all funny.
No,
like I don't think Portia de Rossi's character is funny.
No.
Why do we have her? Whereas I think on Schitt's Creek, everyone's got something in that family that makes them funny.
Yeah, that's true.
Alexis is great. David is great. The dad's great. The dad's lovely. The mum's wild.
Yeah.
I've watched that twice. The first time I watched it, I was like, this is fine. Second time I watched it, I was like, this is actually very funny. Arrested Development. I love Jason Bateman. It's crazy because I love the cast.
Yeah.
It's
such a good cast.
Development. It never stuck with me. I've never got I feel like with comedies you want to get to a place where you're like, oh, this is the perfect setup. Actually, I can't believe that someone has not like The Office, not the British one because I don't like Ricky Gervais.
I don't mind the British one, but American's one just blew out the water.
The American one, you get like the first season. I remember being like, this is pretty good. I think like somewhere in the middle of the second or the third, I was like, oh, like this is a premise that just keeps on giving, and these characters are so like well drawn that there is so much comedy to mine here.
When I'm telling you that show, I laughed.
I've watched it all the way through at least 4 times now.
I had to I think I left with Steve Carell. I couldn't watch the other two.
You got to see Idris Elba. What do you mean? No,
Idris Elba came earlier.
Yeah, but he comes back.
Yeah, but I don't need to see him again. I'm fine.
Well, I think it's weird to say you're fine when you've not watched the episodes.
No, I mean I'm fine. When Steve left, I was like, I'm gonna leave too, in solidarity.
Okay.
No offense to Will Ferrell. Just
Will Ferrell's barely in it. That's when you don't even know what happened. I'm not telling you.
Who's the next guy that goes? Because there's another guy that comes in.
I'm actually not going to say.
You know, it's fine. We'll do a rewatch.
I won't need to rewatch it.
Okay, I will do a rewatch.
You need to finish it. It's not rewatch. You don't finish the series. I need to rewatch.
Story of my life.
Why are we talking about this? Chris Rock, comedy.
Where comedy is today.
I just think that like a lot of people are hiding behind this. You can't say anything nowadays. We want to hear jokes. You're not telling jokes. No. You're just saying offensive shit. Yeah. It's not funny.
Yeah, because to me, that's what I felt the special was doing. It was like, which group can I offend?
It's not funny. And it wasn't funny.
Like, there were some points that were a bit funny. It was like, got me a bit.
We have to accept
a little chuckle.
The only people that can be funny now are Gen Z, because Gen Z are the only people that can poke fun at us.
Yeah, because we are the jokes.
Yeah, but we are all of us. Chris Rock's generation down to us even. You get to a point where you start taking yourselves seriously, and when you do that, you can't make the jokes anymore because you've decided you're above being joked about.
Yeah.
He should have been poking fun at himself.
Yeah. He didn't want to do it.
He didn't want to do it. No. He didn't want to do it. He felt they made me look like a fucking dickhead on TV. I'm coming here to try and reclaim my power. Yeah. I'm gonna punch down. Yeah. Okay, you've punched down, but you've actually just shown us that you are as bad as they are. Yeah. You should come here and be like, well, that went badly. Let's move on, because your job is to be a comedian. Your job is not to be a guy who got slapped on TV, but you've now turned it into you're the dude who got slapped on TV.
Yeah.
This is the legacy for what?
What a shame. Selective outrage. It's on Netflix. I will also flag that in terms of the live aspect, very seamless. It didn't lag. There wasn't. I mean, he messed up one joke, but he owned up to it.
Good.
And yeah, I think if that's what Netflix is going into, it's very interesting. Anyway,
as if people are spending all their time on Netflix streaming comedy. Let's be real. How much? I would love to know how much of the market share of their viewership is watching comedy on Netflix. There was a period where I was watching comedy on Netflix, and guess what? Now I don't. It's not something I look for.
But do you watch comedy in general? Because I know I don't. And I don't even like watching comedy in live shows. I want to go to like a stand-up show. Unless I'm paid for it. I'm like, but we've been to...
What?
No,
Someone should pay you.
Unless they're going to pay for my ticket to go.
Oh, I meant the comic should be paying everybody who comes on the doors to
go.
I've actually been to see a lot of comedy.
Have you?
Yeah, because when I went to Edinburgh.
Oh, yeah. I just haven't... It's not like
I really enjoyed it.
Was it?
But I think I was really lucky. I went to a lot of very good shows. There was maybe one I went to where I was like, I don't care about this.
Yeah.
But... Again, I think that person, a lot of their humour was saying things that are kind of shocking and provocative.
Okay.
And wasn't actually a joke.
Yeah.
There were a couple of jokes that were funny, but...
Yeah. It's a hard job to make people laugh. I mean, as someone who's funny, I understand the pressure. Oh, God.
This person is an adult. By the way, she's an adult who pays a rent. She said it as a comedian, as a funny person. Please.
Look, there's a reason why we call this podcast Scripts and Giggles, okay?
Yeah, so you can laugh at your own jokes.
Someone has to.
Literally, someone has to, and that someone is you.
Oh,
anyway.
Gosh. Should we move on to another joke?
Butties.
Yeah.
Oh, but we've got to say, I believe Chris Rock is on Flop Island. Where do you think Chris Rock is? Oh, and the reason why I think Chris Rock is on Flop Island is because of that video that's circulating where he's going back and forth with Lucy Kay about how Lucy Kay is a niggerish white person. The most niggery white person that he's ever met.
I mean, for that video alone, 100% just live on Flop Island. For the special, I'll put him on the boat in the middle between Pop and Flop. Because a Pop, because it was a big moment from a Netflix perspective. On a Flop, because...
No, so Netflix could be on Bop.
Yeah, Netflix can be on Bop.
Chris Rock is on Flop.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
Bartiz is on Flop.
Bartiz is on Flop. You can continue now.
Bartiz. He doesn't want to give us peace. I didn't mean for that to rhyme, but... Yeah. Bartiz, I have to believe... is the devil, because the phrase is the devil works harder, and nobody works harder than Bartiz. Why is this guy selling likes? He's selling. You could basically order a Cameo. It's like, imagine a site like Cameo where you can get videos from celebs. You can buy the opportunity of Bartiz liking one of your Instagram pictures for like $50.
$5, yeah.
You can, there are points where he'll do a personalised video for you. Meet and greet. Maybe he'll come to your birthday party. Why would you want that?
I feel like he's not just in his villain area. He's leaning into it. He's riding into that skid of his villain era and living up to it, because that is what's made him famous, not just on Love is Blind, but now most recently on Perfect Match. But the second thing I feel like is that Love is Blind Series 4 has just been announced. It's coming at the end of March. It's been so quick. Like, we are still digesting and recovering from Series 3. However, Series 4 is coming. And to be perfectly honest, I think he's trying to squeeze as much notoriety as he's going to have. Because when the new season starts, we're going to have a new crop of Love is Blind stars who we will care about. And Bartiz will be like, Bartiz who? So that's the same way I feel about the Love Island contestants. Like, they have 1 year to make it count, because when the new crops of people start coming, all your PLT deals, all your poly deals are going to be going to the new girls, or the new girlies, or the new guys. Yeah. Anyway, all I'm trying to say is I feel like he's just trying to like squeeze as much juice as he possibly can at this stage. But Bartiz is a joke, and unfortunately he is.
I actually feel like I've changed my mind on this. I'm happy for him and what he's doing, because hopefully the money that he's earning he can spend on therapy, because he needs it. That's what he needs. Yeah. I don't understand why this guy stays outside. Yeah. I don't understand how he has experienced both Love is Blind and Perfect Match and still thinks that in some way he is in a position that people will like him enough to pay for him to like their photos. Have you not watched the footage back? Gosh. Have you not seen the comments and the retweets?
No. I need him to do what SK is doing and keep his head low. Keep your head low Go and do some studying. Go and do something.
Yeah.
But get out of the public eye because...
Pascal's got to stay out of the public eye because he's got more women in the woodworks waiting to come out. So he's like, let me just keep my mouth shut. Because if I open it, 17 more women are coming out.
So finished.
The other perfect match drama has been Dom and Megan.
Georgia.
Dom and Georgia sending each other indirects that soon then became directs, actually. So, obviously there was a Where Are They Now video, which, can I just say, every single couple had broken up.
Which we kind of predicted.
Even the people that got engaged.
Oh, that one didn't make sense. The minute he started talking, Joey was like, trying to do a preface like, I'll always love her, and I was like, they're finished. They're not even together. They probably broke up before they even left the island.
He said, a couple of... It wasn't even a year.
I'm not even surprised. Like, I'm sorry, you should have realised that at the villa.
Why did you propose to her?
Yes.
You thought you was going to win, that's why. Yes. Anyway, everyone's broken up. Dom says that, Georgia's moved on to some other guy, who she started dating while they were still seeing each other, basically, is what he says. Georgia's then like, no, that's not how it happened. I'd left, we weren't even seeing each other anymore. I never slept with him on the day or whatever, some story.
And the person she's talking about is Harry Gilesley, who was on Too Hot to Handle.
Francesca's ex.
Yes, and they were on a podcast that Harry was on, and Georgia was filming with him. I think they're both there because they're both Australian, as guests. And on that day, they fell in love. And that's what the podcast even said. The day they fell in love.
So she's saying, no, none of this happened. So now Dom says, you know what, I'm going to get really bored of this because I'm not going to be called a liar, so I'm going to post the receipts. Post the receipts of how the day that she went to film the podcast, he and her had been staying in the hotel together. He's messaging her, we're all going to dinner. Do you want me to come and get you in the Uber, or do you want me to send an Uber? And she's like, no. It's now 10 o'clock at night. She's like, no. I'm already in an Uber, I'm on my way. She did not come to the dinner. They ate the dinner. Then he added a clip from the Harry guy, who was on a podcast saying that him and Georgia smashed the next day.
Georgia.
I just feel like, why would you lie when you know there is footage?
Yeah. Also, it's not chatty patties, because why are you speaking on that? That's your girlfriend.
It's embarrassing.
Oh, no, it really is.
Anyway, so the war was won by Dom.
Yeah.
He's also giving me the ick. Posting a lot of sad TikToks about when your girl cheats on you. I'm over
really?
it.
No, he was in a lot of, like, the ones I've seen was him going, I could steal your girl. The guys out here is trying to tease me because I have painted nail varnish. Watch me steal your girl. Watch me steal your wife. Watch me steal your woman. I'm like, let it go. And as I mentioned in the previous podcast, I already have my feeling towards Dom on the show. I wish he just stayed on the mole and just kept that really perfect image that we had of him, where I was like, good on you, Dom. You've always been the authentic king. And then Will was the one that was a bit, you know.
Listen, I don't think going on the perfect match has ruined anything for him. I think he's come out on top, especially now that Georgia's cheated on him. People love Dom. People are really happy for Dom. And that's well and good. I just can't believe that Netflix put the show out when it did so badly for the people. One legit couple.
Yeah, I hope that it comes back again. I think there's such a potential with this show. It's chaotic, but there is potential.
I think it should be regular people. I don't think it should be people from dating shows.
Regular.
Yeah.
But that's just Love Island.
No, this is more chaotic than Love Island, though. Because in Love Island, you don't get to make the choices about who's paired up with who and who's going on dates.
Yeah.
That part I like.
Yeah, that's true.
But then I feel like that's the part where it starts to become a competition, less of a
romance. And again, I just want a show where there will be romance. Like, Love is Blind UK has been announced by Netflix, and I just really want to see some love. Okay.
I just want to see the UK. We don't get to see it enough.
No, I just want to basically hear a guy who walks into the pod and there's an Essex girl on one side of the pod and a Scouse guy on the other side.
Or a guy from Barnsley.
Yeah, exactly. Or someone with really high RP or whatever. Like really posh. And then seeing him probably not match with anyone.
See, like, it won't work. It doesn't work in this country. It immediately is a class thing. You hear someone's voice, you're going to make decisions about who they are.
Which is what I kind of will find interesting in comparison to some of the other formats. Like, Love is Blind Brazil, I don't know if they had to even face this type of thing.
Someone be like, sat at the door and be like, hello. Just
Oi,
immediately scratch eyes.
Yeah.
Scratch that person out. Yeah, what we wearing?
Yeah.
Scratch. Who's next, bruv? I'm just trying to go.
What are you saying? What are you saying? Next.
But at least do you know what you'll be able to do? That thing of like,
where are you from?
Trying to hear whether the person is black or white or whatever. Like Harold being like, yeah, Laurel, I love your voice. Where are you from? What colour is your skin? He knew as soon as he heard her, he said, this is a black woman.
That's what happened with the American one. The American one, there definitely was like, oh, you know, I feel like it was Cole from series 2. On series 3, he would ask like really random questions to try and gauge. No, sorry. Nothing can beat Shake. Oh, can I carry you?
Can I lift you up? Or can I get you on my shoulders? I love to carry girls at festivals. Can I get your shoulders on the festival?
Oh, what a joke.
And nobody said it depends. No. Are you strong?
Yeah.
Because
yes.
You're asking me if I'm big. Are you big? Because you need to be big to lift me up.
Exactly.
I'm not letting a string bean carry me anywhere. Thank you. Am I big? Are you big? The fact that Dinky didn't drag him up and down, he was not hot.
He was not.
So for you to be letting a troll make you cry,
oh God.
Sometimes I just feel like you guys are not living in reality because I have eyes and I'm not crying over fucking Shake.
Come on.
That donkey.
Oh.
Who was apparently asked to come on Perfect Match.
I'm not surprised. Because if you want drama,
it's just a villain show.
Bring the villains.
It's just a villain show.
If you want love, bring the people that didn't make it.
It should just been a show about villains and just get all villains on there. And don't put Paul Colony and Anne Sophie on the show.
Or Diamond or
don't put any of the nice girlies on. Just put the villain up. 18 Francescas. And let's just let the fireworks happen. Anyway, do you have any other? Is there anything else?
Did you want to talk about Matt Healy?
Matty Healy.
Because we just want to add more people to Flop Island.
It's on Flop Island with Bartice and Chris Rock for me. Because he was making fun of Ice Spice. He's a sweet little baby angel. Yeah. First of all, I don't think it's nice, on just who you are aside, for you to hear that someone is a big fan of your work and you're an inspiration to them and be like, I'm going to make fun of you.
Yeah.
That's just ill will.
Yeah.
Bad manners, should I say. Ill-mannered, mean-spirited, dumb.
Yeah.
All of those words. But then, your way of making fun of me is to misidentify me
100%.
several times. Mock a whole race of people, which I'm not even.
Yeah. By
doing doing a bad Chinese accent, a bad Pacific Islander accent, referred to the Inuit community by words that we don't use anymore.
Yeah.
And I can't work out if they're being serious, as in they genuinely don't know that Ice Spice is black, or if they're trying to be funny.
From the way he was speaking, and if you haven't heard it, look out for it. Just Google it. From the way he was saying it, he was just trying to be funny. And I'm not sorry. There's no way I'm justifying it because the guy was being 100% racist. But I think he was being egged on by the people who are laughing with him and his commentary.
Yeah, but he's not a little boy.
No, not at all.
That's the thing.
Not at all.
Where we talk about cancel culture all the time. Blah 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 blah. Everybody's always like, "Oh, they like cancel culture." Blah blah blah. Okay. But then you see things like this happen and you think, he's going to continue to make music. It's not going to stop his life in any way.
Yeah.
He's not going to be cancelled for this. At what point, realistically, really, 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 do we genuinely make decisions about cancelling people? Because I'm not seeing the repercussions the way people keep talking about the repercussions. No. Everyone's getting cancelled. Look at J.K. Rowling. She just had a game of Harry Potter launch. So that's an extra option fee in her pocket.
Yeah.
Who's getting cancelled here? Yeah, court public opinion says that they don't like you, but your pockets are still stacked.
It's because with the people that are cancelling you, that sometimes they only are the minority, and the majority are not aware of what's going on, or they're still valuable, hence they've not been cancelled. So it's like the good is outweighing the evil, or the people that are unaware of what's going on, or are aware and choose not to be affected by it, are the ones that are the majority, and then only the people that are in uproar and pushing back are in the minority, hence they're not being cancelled. It's when you find the big swings, like R. Kelly, I don't know why he's R. Kelly, but who's the last big person that got cancelled?
I think it's when you do an actual crime.
Yeah, hence R. Kelly.
Yeah, I think it's only if you do an actual crime.
Yeah.
I think we as a society, what we're doing at the moment is performing solidarity. We're not actually standing with people.
No.
Like, me doing actual solidarity is, I'm not going to listen to another 1975 song again. I'm not going to endorse them. I'm not going to back them because I don't support racism. There are other people saying they're going to do the same thing while they're still downloading their music and listening to it.
Yeah.
So you're performing solidarity because there's people watching on Twitter. You want to be like, yeah, I agree. But in your spare time, you don't actually give a fuck about this.
Yeah.
And that is the problem. I think that's the problem with the 2020 movement about our Black lives. All these people came out, yeah, guys, stop killing the blacks. But as soon as that time passed, what did you do to continue to support black people? Nothing.
Nothing.
You've not changed anything about your life.
Yeah.
You're exactly the same.
Yeah.
You performed solidarity because the world was watching, and now the world's not watching anymore. So we can go back to what we were doing before, which is our little passive aggressive microaggressions.
Yeah.
And then we'll be like on the internet where everyone can see us. I would never say what Maggie said. I would never do that. I'm a really chill dude, and I care about the blacks. Please. Nobody cares about anything that doesn't directly affect them, and I stand by that. It's quite a cynical outlook in life, but nobody has proven me otherwise, that they will stand up for things that don't directly affect them. Yeah. The white people who will go to bat for black people, it's because they've got black kids, or they've got black family members, or their partner is black. The ones who are really out here riding or dying. It's because it affects you. You have a stake in this argument. If you don't, why am I leaving my house? I'm just going to tweet a black square and be done with it.
No, it's like in Friends when Phoebe says there is no... Actually, no, Phoebe didn't say it. It was the gang that said there's no such thing as a selfless good deed. Because we're all a bit selfish.
Yeah.
And it needs to benefit us. So...
Literally.
Yeah. But yeah, Flop Island's been crowded today.
Flop Island is crowded. So crowded. I'm so sorry the whole band is on there.
Yeah. Unfortunately, you have to get the head.
Yeah. This is exactly about performing solidarity. You let him come back and sit with you and eat lunch and dinner like it was nothing what you just done. Yeah. You're as bad as he is.
Yeah.
Who's next? Oh.
I don't think I have anything else for the island. I'm ready to swim on.
Do you have any bops?
Well, we gave Netflix a bop.
Yeah.
I actually don't have any bops this week. It's just odd.
Yeah, I don't have any bops this week.
No.
Let's get to the review.
Yeah, let's get to the review.
So today we're picking up the review
from last week for Couples Therapy.
Season 3.
Season 3. Last week we covered 2 of the couples who were Ping and Will and Molly and Josh.
Yeah.
And this week we're going to go through India and Dale and Sin and Yaya. So India and Dale, they've been together for 8 years. They are the only African-American couple that's featured in this season. But usually I think with every season there is an African-American couple.
Yeah, and there are African-American people in other relationships.
Yes.
Like Yaya.
Yeah.
But yeah,
this is both members of this couple are African American, and I think that's a big thing because using this couple, there was an opportunity in the show to talk about race and therapy, which has been, I think it's been a highly discussed topic when it's come to having physicians or having therapists who are more representative of the clients and the patients they see, i.e., if you are seeing a therapist and you are a black woman or a black man, would you also want to have a therapist who is black? And I think that there was a space to open up that discussion because, of course, Dr. Orna, if you listen from our previous podcast, Couples Therapy is about a therapist called Dr. Orna who is giving advice to these couples. Dr. Orna is a white woman, and I think it was a very interesting dynamic that one of the first things from the jump they talked about was how Dale is perceived as a black man and sometimes how he feels that he has to almost retract and withdraw from showing emotion in public, which is a similar thing that happened in I think series 1 or series 2 one of the couples where the guy felt like even though things have happened or things happen in public and he's frustrated, he cannot show that frustration, and he used it as a kind of almost a parallel to India, who has been known to be a bit more expressive and he's used the word aggressive when it comes to certain situations, and he felt that maybe she had more freedom and more license to be expressive with her feelings, whereas he didn't from a male perspective because of just the perception of black men in America.
I feel like what they didn't talk about enough for me in that couple was in their first meeting, he says that when India's annoyed, she'll say some really, really dark things.
Yeah.
And they didn't show how they resolved that, because the conversation between them often becomes about race, and she tells a story about how one time they went to a party and someone said something and she said something back to them, and he was like, oh, you're being an aggressive black woman at this party. And she was like, that's always his go-to, is to make me seem like the aggressor when I say anything, so I can't win.
And that's where she used to feel inadequate, because she felt like whatever she does, Dale is quick to criticize her. And I think she made examples around like the way that they were raising their child, and how Dale has a child before from a previous relationship, and for her, she was always concerned about what if they had children, and she actually said in the heat of an argument that she didn't want to be a parent with him, which I think is so cutting. Like I was so shocked.
And when Dr. Orna tried to speak to her about it, she was like, yeah, so I come from a family where what you do is when you're angry, you say some of the most vile shit to each other, and then you, because you've got out of your system, you can like sit down and like watch TV together and eat a meal and everything's fine. And I sort of talked about this briefly last week, but that dynamic is toxic.
Yeah.
Right? And the only way it's not toxic, well, it is always toxic. And it's, fine is not the right word, but if you find someone who grew up in an exact same environment as you, the two of you will be okay.
Yeah.
Because you know this stuff doesn't mean anything, and they know this stuff doesn't mean anything. So you can go on saying your vile, hurtful shit to each other, and then get into bed together and go to sleep and it be fine.
Yeah.
The average person isn't spoken to like that.
Yeah.
So when you are in the mood of your husband and you say things like, I wish I hadn't had a child with you, or I don't want to have a child with you, that stuff stays in their heads. And that really, really eats away at them.
Honestly.
And it's crazy to think she'll say that and then the next day have basically forgotten what she said. Like, it meant so little to her that she's not thinking about it at all. And this person might hold on to it for 8 weeks, a month, a year, bring it all the way to therapy and tell the therapist. Yeah. And she's sitting there like, I don't really understand what the problem is. Yeah. Because I was upset. Just because you're upset doesn't mean you can act anyhow you like, right? Yeah. That's what you learn as a child. You have a tantrum and your parents say, listen, if you're sad, we could do something about that, but your kicking and screaming is not going to get nothing done. Yeah. And that's how you learn to regulate your emotions. You can't go through life kicking and throwing a tantrum, smashing up the shop because something went the way you didn't want it to. Yeah. And it sounds, and in those moments where you're like, well, what I do is I just try to punch below the belt when I'm upset, is a perfect example of you haven't learned to regulate your emotions. No. You can be angry and also have a conversation with someone without getting them to a brink where they want to kill themselves.
Yeah. It's about, again, it's always about communication and not just that, but also doing unto others as you want others to do unto you. Because you wouldn't want anyone to speak to you in that certain way. So why do you think it's acceptable to speak to them in that way?
But I think that's the interesting thing. It's not a want to be spoken to like that. It's I'm used to this.
Yeah, but that's
so I just think this is normal.
Yeah.
And someone has to unteach that to me.
Yeah.
That's why you have to go to therapy,
Yeah.
because I can't teach you that. You're just going to say, oh, you're too thin-skinned, you don't get it, blah, blah, blah. It takes someone hearing your story and going, that sounds really bad. And you're like, no, it was fine. It's like, no, your parents shouldn't have spoken to you like that.
No.
That's not what they should have said to you if they were upset with you.
Yeah, and it's not a healthy way of, like, conflict resolution.
No.
Like, honestly, it's...
Why would you be setting out to hurt the people you love? That doesn't make sense.
No. I think what this show portrays is just the importance of childhood and how it doesn't not about nature, but how you are nurtured impacts so many aspects of your life post the age of childhood or post the era of childhood, when you are dealing with more emotions, you're dealing with your identity, you're dealing with your relationships, you're understanding how to relate to other people. If you have not been able to have that foundation as a child and you see certain things, you will take that into your relationship unless you do the work yourself to find out, quote unquote, the inner child, which is what we talked about last week, and understand what is healthy and what wasn't healthy, and identifying that. Because, India's approach, even when she was talking in the sessions, there was times when I was like, "Girl, you need to calm down."
What's the attitude for?
So much attitude towards Dr. Orna, attitude towards Dale. It was a lot, and he said something, and I'm not trying to assign this to race, but there was another thing that he said, another cutting thing that he also said. It was like, after he got divorced, because of the previous relationship, he didn't want to date another black woman.
Because they nag.
Yeah, and that was like, rah. It's so interesting to see how he identified that behaviour's attitude or mindset to black women, and hence was going to make the absolute that he was never going to date a black woman again. India, of course, is a black woman, so that didn't happen. But
how did she? Because she's the one who volunteers that information.
Yeah, she's the one that said it.
So why? I'm trying to find out the context in which you would tell your black wife that there was a period of time where you didn't want to date black women.
There's only two ways. In the heat of an argument, which I think is most likely, she said something cutting, and he said something cutting back, or she said something cutting as he's walking away. He was like something along the line like, "I knew I shouldn't have dated another black woman."
Not you directing the scene as he's walking away. The camera moves. The camera pans the room.
No, because I just can imagine he would try and make that jab, but maybe almost a bit too scared to say it to her face.
He did give me the impression that he was scared of his wife.
Yeah,
100%.
he did.
So I couldn't imagine that he just sat across from her on the table,
and was
drinking wine and being like, there was a period of my life where I almost didn't date you because you're black and I didn't want to date black.
Exactly. The only other place where I don't think it's acceptable, but he could have disclosed that information without it being in an argument setting, was if they were mates before.
On his deathbed. You better be dying after this. What are you talking about?
I was thinking it's more like if you were friends before and you felt like, oh, we're just chummy, you're my mate, I'm your mate. Just my type used to be, after my divorce I decided I don't think I want to date black women, and then he could release that information knowing that there's not going to be repercussions for her. I mean, I think to me it'd be a lot of questions if you told me that.
I was going to say, let's be real. After, if you was talking to a guy and he was your friend, right?
Yeah.
And you thought, oh yeah, he's cute. And then he said that to you. Are you checking for him anymore?
No. So maybe that's unrealistic.
I wouldn't. There's absolutely no way.
Unless he said, I thought I would never date a black woman before, and then I met you.
No.
Slip that little compliment in.
I would never.
That underhand comment.
Every night I'd just be like, is this going to be the day where he wakes up and decides he wants that white woman again? I couldn't deal with it.
Goodness me.
I'd be like, I just need to be out of this situation, to be honest.
So,
I hope you find the girl of your dreams, whatever race she is, but it's not going to be me. I was gonna flag, just as you were talking about the inner child stuff, that, like, for me, and I think for a lot of people who, you basically have your childhood up until you're 18. You go to the uni, and from that point onwards, you're just you're having to unlearn all the stuff that you learned as a kid because it was wrong. or just not helpful for you.
Sometimes you're unlearning it before.
Yeah, sometimes you're unlearning it before.
Sometimes you're unlearning it as you're in the childhood. Like, this is not right, but it's still happening.
Oh, 100%. No, for sure. And I just feel like people don't talk about that enough because it's really tough to be like, oh, I thought my 20s were going to be me going on adventures and growing and learning. Actually, it's just a bunch of me having to be like, oh, so apparently that's not real. Yeah. That's not real. That's not good. That's not good. Yeah. Can't do that. Put that in the bin.
Here's a boundary, and then you set that boundary.
Exactly. Yeah. Before you can get to start your life again.
Yeah.
It's just... Why just set us up with the good things to begin with, parents? God.
Childhood is so important, and now I understood why one of her early questions, not just with this couple but with all the other ones, was like, how was your childhood? How did you see relationships at home? Because that influences how you see relationships in the future, and it's so sad to say that. Really sad. But there was one point that I put down about forgiveness. Oh, actually, there's two big points actually I want to talk about. One was about the actual peer advisory board that was advising Dr. Orna with this particular couple, because I think I mentioned it in the last episode that in previous seasons, Dr. Orna would have a peer advisor, who was kind of someone to kind of touch base and have a second opinion on the couples that she was speaking to. And in this season, in comparison to the other two seasons, she had a whole advisory group which included a range of different specialists and other therapists.
Yeah, which is probably more helpful.
So helpful. And they were all from different backgrounds. And there was this particular therapist, Dr. Callie, one of the experts, who spoke to her about this particular couple and flagged a question that I think you may not think of it like explicitly, but it's still inherently about, Dr. Orna as a white woman, do you feel that, this particular couple are holding some of the information back from you because you are white and they can't truly express how they feel as a black couple? Because there's some experiences as a African-American couple, and just having the African-American experience in that type of society where they may not feel comfortable expressing how they felt, or they may not feel comfortable going into detail about some of the injustices, racial microaggressions, or just discrimination that they face. And so she tells Dr. Orna that she wants her to challenge them and ask them whether they feel, any type of issue with her being a white therapist speaking to them, or if there is any blockage or barriers for them in terms of their treatment, or for them to fully express themselves because she's white. And it was interesting how she positioned it. The conversation was leaning into race, because I feel like Dale in particular definitely talked about race and being black and brought up that identity a lot in their conversations. And so I think she used that opportunity to be like, do you have a problem with me being white? She paraphrased it a lot nicer than I just did. And India does say, like, look, she is conscious that she's a white woman, of course, and she does think that sometimes she does have to probably polish some stories and not really go into the level of detail because she is white, and she feels like she may have to explain things or not downplay, but potentially not go into full detail because she doesn't know how she would react to it. But as a couple, they don't have a problem with Dr. Orna being their therapist, because they value her expertise and they value the therapy that they've received from her. And I think that she has, in what we saw in the show, Dr. Orna did give really strong advice to the couples. And I think one of the other key things was about forgiveness. But I just wanted to flag that I appreciated one day advisory group. I think it was really needed.
Yeah.
And we're in a world where people want to see therapists or see medical experts and the medical field to be more representative of the patients they treat. So it was good to see that reflected in this way. And two, it's good to have the conversation, even though it is a shame, because I felt that sometimes that particular couple was just there to talk about race or be the race subject of the show. But that being said, their issues in comparison to some of the other couples I don't want to weigh them up like what's bad and what's good, but it didn't feel as drastic, and I didn't feel like they were on the verge of divorce in comparison to like a Ping and Will. So
yeah. I was surprised when they came in and they started talking about basically how vicious their arguments were. I thought, oh, this is another one. I think actually it was like, oh, there are too many couples this season where it's just like, we are vile to each other. And I don't know how you come back from that as a person. Like, I honestly don't think I could date someone who was that vile and then be like, should we go to couples therapy? No, we shouldn't. We should not be together. I don't want to live my life like this, personally. But it did feel like Honor got them to a place where they seemed a lot more together. Like, I think that one of my favourite things to witness is like the change in body language from when they first come in to like the end of the last sessions, because I think that's a good way to tell whether like this thing is gonna stick. The changes that they're making, because they are actually warming up to each other. They're seeing the positive benefits, unlike a Ping and Will, where it was like, actually I'm not seeing any change in body language at all. Nothing has changed. I don't think I see it for these two.
Yeah. So I had hope that, they were going to make it through. And I hope they're still together. There was another point that came through in the show, and I wrote the point around forgiveness versus righteousness. And I'm just trying to remember why I wrote that point. But I think a lot of that was around the idea of how they show forgiveness, especially when you have had those deep arguments and it's very cutting. Like, how do you move on from that? Because there's a few things that, I mean, even him saying that, I wasn't going to date a black woman after his divorce, some of that could be unforgivable depending on your perspective, or if your sensitivity towards that. Like, how do you show forgiveness that, or maybe you said this certain thing in the heat of the moment, but actually you do very much love and care for me, and we're not just gonna brush things under the rug and just be like, we're cool, good. Like, it doesn't work that way. And I, from what I remember in the show, I think they were able to find some type of resolution that how they handle their communication styles. But I think that was just a point I wanted to write about, like, as an open question of like, how do you show that forgiveness and reconcile after those big blowouts? And is it something that they both have to keep an eye on moving forward in their relationship, that when they are in those heated moments, because they will happen, what they can do to resolve it quickly, but also to keep that space for forgiveness?
One thing that I think that therapy is quite good at giving you the tools for, specifically in situations like this, is how to express yourself in a way that's not toxic. So that it's not a case of like, you're not going to ever feel angry, you will, you're not going to ever feel sad, you will, but you have the tools actually to express yourself in a way that hopefully your partner hears. And actually it's regressive. Those moments where you pull on that old behaviour, it's because whatever you're feeling is so acute that you don't have the ability to stay present and be careful about the words that you're choosing. You're just feeling your feelings. And that's that thing about like being able to not moderate, but like control your emotions, or like, and not be controlled by your emotions. Like, you shouldn't be overwhelmed on a near daily basis by your feelings. Like, that's just, it's chaos.
Honestly, if you're living by your feelings alone and not logic and not thought and not wisdom, you're gonna be in trouble.
Or if you're feeling you're feeling your feelings, but you're not able to then, what's the word I'm looking for? Apply that information. Like, oh, something happened just now that's made me feel angry. What is it? Oh, this is a trigger for me. I'm going to go, not right now because I'm still feeling angry, but I'm going to go and speak to that person and explain, hey, when you do X, it makes me feel Y. So I just want to flag that for you because I don't want to feel like that.
Yeah.
And I don't think you intended for me to feel why.
Yeah.
Did you?
Yeah.
Most of the time the person's like, no, I didn't. I didn't know that was going to be a trigger for you.
Yeah.
It won't happen again. Everyone's good because most times people don't want to be bad to each other. They just don't know what they're doing that's bad to each other. And that's what therapy is good for because it gives you the but if you're a person who's like, yeah, when I get mad, I just fucking say what I want. Therapy goes, how about you don't do that? And how about you take a minute, collect yourself, and then when you feel calmer, go back to that person and be like, I didn't like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I'm telling you, you will see positive results. And I'm a fucking therapy stan, but like, I have seen 150% improvement in my interactions when I started to just be like, don't speak now.
Yeah.
Don't speak now.
Because if you speak now, you're gonna regret it.
Yeah, you're speaking now because you're mad, and because you're mad, you're not even thinking.
Yeah.
So you're just saying shit.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't even really make sense what you're saying. This garble of emotion, of emotional response at the other person who's now going, where did this all come from? I said one thing, you're now screaming at me, so now I'm screaming at you. Then everyone's upset. We don't even know what we're mad about. Yeah. Your emotions are there to point you towards a piece of information. I don't think they're just there. You don't just. I don't think it's normal for you to just wake up and be like, "Oh, I'm sad." Yeah. And there's no reason. That's when you gotta go to doctors and get antidepressants or whatever. Like, but that's not normal. Yeah. But being sad because something has happened is normal. Yeah.
So you can feel your feels, but don't live by your feels.
You can't live by your feels.
Because you'll be in trouble. Yeah. But yeah, I think it was a really interesting couple, and I'm glad we included them in the series because it's like a nice palate cleanser to all the chaos from the other three.
Yeah, they were two quite calm people for as much as he was like, as much as she had an attitude, she was quite even kill in the way that she spoke. Yeah. Like,
exactly.
She wasn't a very emotional speaker.
No, but when she did speak, it was more with assertion, like, this is my frustration versus anything else. But at times I related to Dell, and I think some of that was maybe the whole, like, I've been in many arguments with the India type of character where they like very quick to just like cut underneath the hip below the belt.
Yeah.
And how do you take that, and how do you just respond to that?
Yeah.
And I think going back to the forgiveness and versus righteousness thing, I think he had a background in the church. I think his dad was a pastor or something.
Yeah, but then that was weird because in one episode they said he was raised by his granddad who was a pastor, so it wasn't his dad? He had some link to the church because that's why I think I wrote the forgiveness versus righteousness. Yeah, no, there definitely was. It was either his dad was a pastor or his granddad was a pastor. Yeah. And that's why their household was so strict.
Yeah. And I think that's part of me was relating to him and maybe parts of his background or parts of how he's been raised, but also like how he was trying to relate to a character like India, and especially in those arguments and disagreements. So yeah, I felt that it was a very nice couple, and yeah, I hope they're still together. The last couple was Sin and Yaya. So this couple, they've been together for 18 years. They've been married for 8 years, and they have 2 children. They're a lesbian couple. The first thing that we realise in the show is that they have not been intimate in 1 year, and that's the issue that they come with. And I think over the course of the series, you start to unpack some of the reasons they have not been intimate, and a lot of that has been led by Sin, who I would say Sin is probably more the breadwinner of the family. Like Yaya stays at home in the house, like looks after the house, looks after the kids, and I think it's mentioned in the show she takes on more of the mother figure, quote unquote. If you're looking at like conservative or traditional family values, she will take on more of a motherly role in comparison to Sin, who she kind of describes herself as like she almost wanted to feel young. It sounded like she was going through a bit of a midlife crisis herself. Yeah. You can see there's a distinction between the roles and responsibilities in the household. But I think the ultimate thing was like the lack of intimacy, sexual intimacy in that relationship, and how it's been prolonged, and a lot of that lack of intimacy is being led by Sin versus Yaya, and Yaya's been sometimes a bit passive and not understanding why they're not intimate, but also not pushing for it either.
Yeah, I found them to be a really interesting couple for many reasons, but one that just came to mind as you were talking was that, like, I think one of the Sin's issues with where they're at is I don't think she imagined. How do I put this? I get the impression from Sin that being in a lesbian relationship equals not being in a sort of traditional family unit. And actually what has happened is they actually do live in a very traditional family unit.
Yeah.
You've got the homemaker and the breadwinner, and they are in these roles, and it's very normal. And I can definitely imagine, if you imagined your life was going to be really fun and cool because you've married your best friend and you guys get to do things that other people don't get to do, and isn't this great, and we're going to build our version of a nuclear family, and then you wake up 10 years later and you're picking up your briefcase and you're going into town and you say, well, I'll be back at 8, my love, there better be food on the table. Like, suddenly you're like, what the fuck has happened to me? This is what I was trying to avoid, and somehow I found myself here. And I think that's part of that idea of her having had having a midlife crisis at this point, because she's just like, is this it?
Yes.
Is this what it is now?
Yeah.
Because if this was what it is, I don't want it.
Yeah.
And I think just before they come to therapy, Sin has said to Yaya, I think we should break up.
Yeah. I think she gave her an ultimatum. It was like, they're split, have an open relationship, which Yaya didn't want, or they reconnect and try to build on the existing marriage.
Which is quite an abrupt... Like, I don't know about you, but I feel like if my partner started talking about splitting up, my inner child trauma would be like, bye.
Yeah.
Bye then, bye.
Because you've obviously checked out. For you to have this conversation, you checked out.
For you to even suggest splitting up, you want to split up.
Yeah.
So you should go.
Yeah.
I ain't doing this with you.
Yeah.
I would just be so uneasy.
Yeah. I think the other big thing that Sin was saying to Yaya is like, I'm not attracted to you.
Yeah.
And it's like...
I couldn't take both.
No.
That's 2 body blows.
Yeah.
I can't take much more of this.
Oh, a body blow.
It is. What do you mean? I kind of don't want to be with you. And also, I don't want to touch you.
Yeah.
I know we've been together for 18 years. We were fucking for at least 13. But I don't like you anymore. Like, what?
And to this day, I think they tried to hit some of the backstory as to why she felt this way. I still didn't fully understand why the lack of attraction wasn't there, or why she wasn't attracted to Yaya.
This is where the peer group came in a way that I thought was really interesting. So some of Sin's backstory was as a child.
Trigger warning.
Yeah, trigger warning, child abuse. As a child, she had been molested by an uncle. And her memory of it was that she wanted to tell her parents, but she never could, or she never did. She's a child. She was scared. I think the uncle said that, she'd be taken away if she did.
Yeah.
And she had... And that was the first version of the story. The second time she talks about it, she talks more about the fact that she felt like her mother did not protect her.
Yeah.
She felt like her mother knew and didn't protect her.
Yeah.
And interestingly, her mother is living with them.
Yeah.
And now Sin has children who are the age that she was when the molestation happened. So at the peer review, the way they talk about it is like, basically Sin has found herself back in the position that she was in as a child. And her feeling is that she is not being taken care of by her mother. But in this scenario, the mother figure is Yaya.
And that shocked me. Like, I would not have expected that to be the explanation as to why the behaviour was like that.
She's now looking at Yaya as a mother,
Yeah.
and she's resenting Yaya in the same way that she resented her mother at the time.
Yeah.
Right? And being like, you are not being attentive to what I need. You're not being attentive to what I'm experiencing. I'm telling you, these are the things I want. And every time I tell you what I want, you come back at me in a passive way. That, to me, is reinforcing this idea that you don't really care about me and you can't protect me and you can't take care of me.
Yeah.
This is all sin stuff.
Yeah, it's got nothing to do with Yaya.
It's got nothing to do with Yaya. And I honestly don't know, like, without therapy, I don't know what you do in a situation like that, because I don't think that Sin was in a position prior to therapy to be able to communicate any of that, right?
No.
I don't even think she knew that's what was happening.
Yeah.
That's the crazy thing about the subconscious
Yeah.
and all of that stuff and playing out the drama of your inner child.
Yeah.
You don't know you're doing it. That's how it works.
Yeah.
If you knew you were doing it, you wouldn't do it.
This is a time when I really hope that she was having individual therapy alongside the couples therapy, similar to some of the other couples that needed that separate time to process some of the things that happen in their lives, so that when they go into the couples therapy, it's more valuable and there's a way that they can explain some of that to the other partner.
Yeah.
As well.
But equally, I understand exploring that stuff together because this is causing issues in our relationship. So rather than you going off to your therapy and dealing with it privately and then coming here and being like, her problem is she never puts her dishes in the dishwasher. And I'm like, I'm still not getting why you're so mad about this.
Yeah.
We do need to discuss this here. But I also get what you're saying in terms of like, maybe there's stuff you don't want to say in front of me.
Yeah.
And equally, I'm just sat here.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm just sat here and it's a sin show. It's always a sin show. And it's never the Yaya show.
Yeah. And I think that kind of came through towards the end of the sessions where Dr. Orno was really pushing for Yaya to speak up. Similar to Josh with the Molly and Josh, where Josh will stay quiet, or when he's asked a question, he will answer it a little bit and then turn to Molly so that she could complete the answer for him. Like with Yaya, it got to the point where she's so passive that she's not expressive. And I think Dr. Orno was like, I need to hear more from you. Like, how do you feel? How do you feel that your partner doesn't want to be with you, in a sense, from a sexual perspective? How do you feel that you're not seen as attractive? How do you feel that, you know, every time you try to be intimate...
Not Dr. Orno dragging her.
No, I mean...
How does it feel to be an ugly bitch? Like, whoa, dude.
How is it? How does it feel that every time you plan to be intimate, someone's tired and goes to sleep? Like, express yourself.
Yeah. And I think for Yaya, it was like, it is what it is kind of energy.
Yeah.
Or like, I don't really... And I get it. If all of this stuff is happening in Sin's head, what can Yaya say? She doesn't even know what she's supposed to be fighting with.
I think I would love to hear more of what Yaya was feeling. Not necessarily like what is going on in your head, Sin. It's just like, what does this mean to her? Like, how does she feel that they've not been intimate? How does she feel in terms of the state of their relationship?
The energy I got from her is that she wasn't that fast.
Which is actually quite scary.
But I don't know. Like,
just
listen,
like,
you
she
hear
didn't
this about
care.
people all the time, though. Well, you've been together for a long time. Your sex drive's not the same as it was when you first got together. You've got kids, you're tired, you're exhausted, you're working, all of that stuff. You're probably not having sex as often anyway.
Yeah.
So maybe it goes it goes down to once a week, once every 2 weeks, once a month. You probably get to a point where you haven't even, you're not even noticing the fact that you haven't had sex for a long time.
Then, I think it was more just to see how much did she want to fight for the relationship. I'm not saying that she has to fight, because a lot of this, like you said, is in Sin's head. And she definitely needs to lead with some of the resolution. However, I just wish that we saw more, like, guster from Yaya and understand, like, how much does she want it? I mean, we did hear, like, of course she didn't want an open relationship. And I got the impression, even from her passiveness, that she doesn't want to break up. So, but in my head, since I felt, had Yaya just said, yeah, let's just break up, she would be going, hit the streets.
I think, do you know what I think is interesting about what you're saying is that I imagine, I'm trying to get into Yaya's head, that like, if my partner referred to me as a sleeping bag...
Oh God, I forgot.
Like, it's comfy, it's functional, it does what it says it's going to do, but it's not bed. I would not have the fight in me. Why would I feel to fight with someone who is making it very clear that they don't like me? I would fight for you if I felt like you were fighting for me. And actually, the way that Sim spoke she was fighting for herself, not necessarily for Yaya. Not until they got to the end, and because even then there's that weird moment towards the end where Dr. Orna's like, well, we're coming to the end of our sessions, how are you feeling? She's like, yeah, we're getting better, we've been intimate. I just hope I don't end up cheating.
Yeah, Yaya said that she felt more present. Sin said that she is now open to admit when she has crushes now.
Yeah.
And it was like, wrong timing. This is just a wrong moment to be talking about those kind of things, especially when you've just made this massive breakthrough of being intimate, which is like one of the biggest strongholds in your relationship.
And what I really liked about that moment is Dr. Orna's response was, Yaya, how do you feel about that? Yaya was like, obviously not good. Like, that's fucked. Why did she say that? Yeah. And so Dr. Orna said, why did you say that? And Sim was like, do you know what? I don't know. And I was just like, this is fascinating to me, actually. They're like, yeah, in this moment, your subconscious still was like, let's ruin this.
Yeah. Honestly.
Let's ruin this. Because when Dr. Orna asked her, she genuinely was like, I don't know why I said that. Like, I don't have a good reason for why I said that. Yeah. It just came out. Maybe it's self-sabotage. Maybe I'm actively seeing this moment where things are good and I'm going, no.
Yeah.
And how can you fight a demon that you can't see?
Yeah.
Like, as in from Yaya's perspective, how am I supposed to fight this demon when the demon is somewhere inside of you? That you are supposed to be fighting. You got to fight the demon for us. I can't fight the demon for you.
No.
And that is, well, it's terrifying because it's a demon, but I mean, like, it's terrifying anyway.
Yeah.
Because that is the thing about being in a relationship. Yeah, I want to be there for you. I want to support you, but there are certain things I can't do for you. Yeah. So if you can't do them, and I can't do them, we have to at some point accept that that's that. Like, if you really care about me, you want me, you got to fight your demons.
Yeah. Which I think is what became more and more clear as the sessions went on, and Sin was opening up more and more about what's happened. I mean, getting some almost resolution with her mum, and understanding that her mum knew about the uncle and actually had spoken to the uncle to try and warn him. I mean, we don't understand the situation, and I'm not going to speak too much onto it.
Yeah. But it felt like maybe he threatened the mum as well.
Maybe something that may have happened, but she intervened. But the fact that she placed that motherly role onto Yaya, and she didn't know anything. Yaya didn't know anything about it, and
she didn't know anything about it.
No, it's just one, I find it very, very fascinating, but two, once you start to see Sin really break down and understand some of the past issues that she's faced, you start to get more breakthrough as a couple between the two. And even at the end, even though they're not hunky-dory, I think they said that they're going in the right direction. And I think they're still together. We haven't heard if they're divorced, but I think, again, it's important to do the work, the individual work, and then the work together as a couple. And the person who's leading this, in this case, the person who wants to explore open relationships, they have to really take on the active role in really pushing for healing as a couple. Yaya's character is still very fascinating to me because of how passive she was, or she's just so used to having that like mother role in the house that she just may not have the time to sit there to address all of Sin's concerns. I don't know anymore.
I don't know. I can relate to her in that, like, having been in a situation where it feels like you are powerless, that you actually do start to just shut down. So unless you are in a position where someone is actually giving you space to be able to talk about your feelings like a therapist, it would just stay the same.
True.
Because you're not really giving me space to talk about how I feel, what this feels like for me. All you're doing every single day is coming to me and be like, let's do open relationship, let's split up, let's do open relationship, let's split up. I don't know if I want to be with you anymore, let's split up. What am I supposed to do?
Yeah, and also, how is those the solutions? Honestly.
What am I supposed to do?
Yeah, but this series has been really interesting in terms of the range of couples they brought in. I did find and did see some real like common tropes that were consistent with majority of the couples. Firstly, the whole idea of like inadequacy and feeling bored. Like the whole like, is this it?
Yeah.
Is this all we're gonna get in this relationship? We heard it with Molly and Josh, particularly from a Molly side. Like, is this it with this relationship? And then with Sin, also open relationships was another conversation with Sin and Ping. Communication, I think that's consistent throughout them all. And I had a question. Well, actually, it was two other things. How the couples bring their representatives to the therapy sessions, i.e., like, are they polishing a story to make it seem more palatable for Dr. Orna and also, of course, the cameras? And are they trying to make things look more perfect than they are? So, for instance, the issue that Will had with Ping about the fact that she may be doing all the work, like reading the books and learning more about her inner child, but back at home, she's still a menace to be around. And I think he was seeing that there may be some inauthenticity with Ping's character in front of Dr. Orna and in that therapy room.
Yeah, we talked about this last week.
We did,
yeah, we did. Yeah. I do think that you do bring a version of yourself, and I also feel like there is a little bit, especially when you've got to a point where you need to come to a couples therapist, it's because you guys are so hard and fast on either side of that argument. So when you come in now, what you're trying to do is get the therapist to agree that you're right and the other person's wrong.
Yeah.
They're never going to do that. If they're a good therapist, they're not supposed to do that. But that's what you're hoping for. So everyone is going in there being like, hold on a second. That's not exactly how it happened, is it? To try and tell it in a way that's sympathetic to them, because who wants to sit there and be like, I'm the villain? Yeah. That was what was so interesting about Annie and Mal in the first season. Yes. Is that Mal was like, I'm actually coming in here to be the villain.
Yeah, and he was...
I want to be the villain because we're not gonna play this game where you're trying to pit us against each other. I'm already coming in here saying I'm the villain in the relationship and Annie is an angel.
Yeah. And then,
to try and really put Orna on the back foot. Yeah. But actually, it came across like, right, so you don't want to learn and grow. You just want to come here and outsmart the therapist. Well, why are you spending money to outsmart the person that's going to help you?
Because they don't think they need it. They don't need a therapist.
Then why are you here?
Honestly, the big question. And I think one thing I've noticed with the men from previous seasons versus this season, and maybe series 2, maybe it's a different example. What was the name of the couple where the woman was shouting all the time? Micah. So with Michael.
Micah and Micah, they were both called Micah.
Oh yeah, Micah. Goodness me. With Micah, he was very passive, very quiet, and she was very loud. This season, I feel like a very similar theme. You had Ping, who was loud. I'm not gonna lie, aggressive towards Will. You had India, same thing. You had Molly, not as much, but from time to time. And then Sin and Yaya, I don't know anything about that, but I would say there's a common theme where the men, there was a lot of passivity in regards to the men, and that was why I asked the question to myself as I was watching was, are the men getting off so easy on the show because the women that they're with are so powerful and loud and assertive in comparison to them and their personality?
Anyone who is a dominant person in a situation is always going to come off like the villain because they seem like they're the one controlling the situation, right? Yeah. The idea is that, like, if you weren't so domineering, X wouldn't happen. But in each of those relationships where the woman was more domineering and the man was more submissive, nothing would have got done had the woman not been dominant. So the match here is, according to this show, there is a sub and a dom in every single one of these relationships, yeah? And someone has to be the sub and someone has to be the dom. Yeah. And it just so happens in these relationships, the dom is the woman and the submissive is the man. And I think more problems lie there because, one, socially, culturally, that's not the norm.
Yeah. So
it is emasculating these men, which is really fucking with them as well. But two, we socially don't like dominant women.
Yeah.
We call them naggy, we call them pushy, we call them aggressive, all of this stuff. We don't like it. So the dynamic when you watch it feels so much more off-putting than if it was shy, retiring woman dominant husband.
I think I'd be
in most
more comfortable.
cases,
Yeah.
actually, in most cases of the couples that we saw across all 3 seasons, it was always dominant woman, submissive man.
Yeah.
Apart from Annie and Mal, they were the only people, and I absolutely hated them as a couple.
Yeah. Oh, horrible.
I thought this is awful.
Yeah.
This is so much worse.
Yeah.
But what I think the show does fairly across all of them is whoever that dominant person is always comes off badly, whether it's a man or a woman.
Yeah.
You never come off well.
Yeah.
It's because you walk in there and you go, right, I'm going to tell you what the version of events is. And we all know there's 6 episodes of this, so this is not it.
No.
We're going to learn a lot more about this that's going to eventually come around and say, you are the villain. But you've walked in here today being like, let me tell you, he never does nothing, he doesn't do this, he doesn't do that. And you're probably right, he doesn't do that. But the reasons why he doesn't is because you walk into every room and you take up all the space and you leave him with nothing. So he goes, I'm not going to do anything. You run the show. And then you're mad at him because he doesn't do anything. You shouldn't have married him.
Yeah. And I would bet that the people that applied for the show, out the partners, was the more dom, predominantly women. They were probably the ones that were like, there's this couples therapy show, let's go for it. I mean, I do question how and why they would go on the show and all their dirty laundry, but it's also healing for someone.
I bet they get the therapy for free.
Yeah, they do.
That's probably why they've done it. Therapy's expensive.
Yeah, I agree.
Free therapy, change my life, sort out my family.
Yeah,
let's do it. I don't care.
Yeah. How would you rate the show? Or this particular season?
I don't know. I found this season not as engaging as the others. Maybe because the couples weren't as explosive as some in the past. Yeah. I would say it was a 2.53 in terms of entertainment. Yeah. But in terms of actually like content, what it's doing, how it changes people's lives, and how it makes you reflect on yourself, it's a 5.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. I 100% love this show because, as I mentioned in the last episode, it's like when you read the Bible reads you. When I watch couples therapy, I get read, or just see a new perspective of relationships and how to relate to other people, whether that's romantically, platonically. So I do love that. I will say, this season in terms of entertainment and in terms of just the pace was just a little bit slower. And I didn't leave being frustrated at the couples. I mean, there was a couple of shocking things, like the Molly and Josh story and how the affairs came about. That was shocking. Ping, in general, just I couldn't believe that someone could speak to their husband like that
in front of. And the worst thing is it's not even a reported story with Indy and Del.
Yeah,
you are saying the words in front of the therapist.
And I mean, again, even though I love the romance, as I always say, I kind of lived for the drama when Dr. Orna was putting people in their place, and I wish there was more of that. I love that they took some extra steps to bring this show more to life and more realistic as well, with the advisory group, and just give it some more voices. But it was a bit slow, so I will give it a 3 because I love the premise of the show, but I don't think I was not as entertained as the previous seasons.
You have one last thing to say.
Go on.
I just remembered how, and this is how this season was as entertaining, how in the middle of their therapy sessions, Micah is pregnant.
Oh yeah.
When I tell you the first time you meet the two of them, she is screaming about how much she hates her husband.
Yes.
We're not even finished the series. Micah is pregnant.
Yeah.
So what? Even at the point where you were screaming you were pregnant?
Yeah.
In the time you were saying, I'm done with him, I don't want to be with him anymore, you're crying, you're tired.
Oh, so pregnant.
You're having a child with him again.
It's so, I know.
That couple was
Unhinged.
wild.
And I'm telling you, they're probably still together.
100%. Because I genuinely got to the end of that and I was like, I don't think Micah's a bad person at all.
No.
I think she's just dramatic.
I'm frustrated.
Yeah. But enjoys the drama of the frustration. Rather than being like, let's sort this frustration out. Yeah. She enjoys to be like, right, so I've asked you to do X and you haven't done it.
Yeah.
And I keep asking you, you're wasting my time. She wants to do that little catty back and forth with her husband. And he will happily sit there and
take it, honestly. But I love this type of premises, this type of formats. I remember Blue Therapy, which was not on TV, but Blue Therapy was also...
I hope that comes for a second season.
So do I. Second season.
We are chomping at the bit for it.
It was a YouTube series. It was...
Should we review that sometime?
Yes. 100%.
That show was wild.
We are 100%. Like... 100 is even more entertaining than series 3 of Couples Therapy.
Oh,
100%. I'm so sorry, but it's because the stories were wild. The characters made you infuriated, and I think unfortunately that is what you need with these type of shows. We need you to bring the Mr. Bartiz of the world, the Flop Island guests, bring them onto these type of shows because it will make you feel, but also make you grateful that there are good guys and good girls out there, and not to settle. And no shade to any of the couples that are on the show, but sometimes you need to be read. Anyway, I'm done now with this.
With your little rant.
I am done with my rant. I feel like couples therapy is always like a good base for when we talk about dates and scribbles.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I think next week, we're watching You. The final episodes have dropped. We
are going to be watching You. And I've got a lot to watch with that. Because I haven't finished series 3.
Here we go, Lance Ladles. She's going to turn up having half watched the season.
No. We've got series 4. All of the episodes have come out, so we need to watch that. I'm excited.
Wait.
And also,
I'm not that excited, to be honest.
Well, we can see your beloved.
I know, that's the only thing But I don't like him as Joe. I like him as himself.
Yeah, I think he also wants people not to love him as Joe.
But obviously, I like the voiceover because of his voice. Oh, I'm torn. Anyway, Joe is not sexy. People who find Joe sexy are sick. He's not sexy. He's a literal murderer. And he wears a hat all the time. And I don't trust him anywhere wear hats all the time. Like, why won't you show us your head? What's going on?
Hatfish.
Show us your head right now.
I want to see the circumference.
But it is set in London, and I can't wait to see people travelling to places that are nowhere near each other within 2 minutes. I'm watching Moon Knight at the moment as well, and there was a bit where he goes to Tottenham Court Road station, and I was like, that's not... You've just taken the sign for Tottenham Court Road and put it on a random building. What are you talking about?
No,
it didn't even look like a train station.
That's what pissed me off, because when you're that inaccurate... And I know, even if you pick inside the tube and you're on the wrong line and the seats, the cushions don't even match, I get pissed off.
Do you know what was crazy is that they had a scene where he was on the bus at Strand on his way to...
Okay, so it would be
towards the British Museum. And I was like, you would go that way.
That's en route.
Why did you then go and get a fake Tottenham Court Road? In the next episode, this doesn't make sense, guys. I thought we were doing something that felt real. Yeah. Also, somehow, despite those landmarks, the British Museum, Strand, the fake Tottenham Court Road, it did not look like London.
That's even worse.
And you know they didn't shoot it here.
Oh, that's bad.
They shot one crane shot, one drone shot of Strand, one drone shot of the British Museum, and they said, actually, then they shot inside the British Museum. Okay. Because I've been to the British Museum, I know what it looks like on the inside. And that's it.
Oh, that's terrible.
The rest of it was shot in,
LA.
Istanbul.
Oh, God.
Somewhere random that's like, this is kind of UK architecture. Yeah.
Oh, goodness me.
Can't wait.
Yeah, can't wait.
Can't wait.
Yeah, but
this has been Scripts
and
Giggles.
Giggles. Oh gosh, but this has been Scripts and Giggles.
Why we had to repeat it? We've already said it. It was really well said, I thought.
I was doing it one more time for the mic.
The mic did pick it up. Giggle.
We're gonna giggle our way out of here. Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Bye.